take a load off and relax now, 'cause we're drinking with Bronson.
I met you, I think, man, we started talking, what was it, a year ago now on Discord?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got into Flesh and Blood around fall of 20. Actually, when did Tales come out? I got into it like around when Tales came out. So it was like late 2021, I think.
I think late 2021, yeah. That was
Yeah,
when they had the
late
Las
2021.
Vegas.
Yeah. So I remember getting into it, like, man, this game seems really cool. And I saw, I'm like, oh yeah, I started buying some like unlimited products for WTR and Arc and Crew. I'm like, man, this game's kind of expensive, but this game's mad fun. And my friend, I was playing webcam games with them, and he's like, yeah, do you know that they've got even cooler versions of like that Arcanite Skullcap? I'm like, really? And I look up like what a cold foil Arcanite Skullcap was going for at the time, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, oh man, I really want a tunic, and back then tunics were really expensive. And I'm like, oh man, the cold foil tunic would be sweet. And like, yeah, those things are like $8,000. And I'm like, oh my god. So I was like strictly a player for like the longest time, but I've always had an eye for collecting. I never held like a huge, large vintage Magic collection, but I had all the staples. I had a good amount of Four Horsemen. I had a ton of Revives, a bit of Unlimited, a lot of Urza's Block and older for Magic. But I'm just like, this is inflated. I'm gonna wait. So I didn't start getting heavy into collecting until like 2022 towards the end when I started seeing prices pull back a lot. And then in 2023, I'm like, okay, I've got the capital. Now's the time. We're gonna start collecting assets and start hoarding some of the stuff that I wanted to get for the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there is a thing where either you're a collector, investor, or player, you buy on the cannon, sell on the trumpets. You see different situations out there where things are inflated. You can want the cards, you just hold back a little bit. Wait. Like a really good example of it is I have it right on my desk is Swarming Gloomvale, right? This is like a $40-$50 card, rainbow foil, like, a year or two ago. I just waited out. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to pay that right now. I'm gonna just wait. I got this for like $12.50 the other day. It's
Oh, beautiful.
yeah. Everfest is great to collect now because I like to set collect, but like, to your point, it's like if you see a price and you're like, yeah, I don't know if this is gonna stick very long, just wait it out. It's just time.
Yeah, I mean, like half the game is just waiting, man. There's so many deals, whether it's like
Yeah.
1.0 or 2.0, or some of the Monarch stuff was dirt cheap. I mean, Dynamo, like CF Dynamos, I picked those up for like $90, sub
Nice.
$100 a piece, and I sold them all the way up until I think the highest one I sold was at like 250.
That's
So
awesome.
there's so much opportunity in like Flesh and Blood. If you're patient and you just wait.
And it all comes really from the
Everything's looking
gameplay,
up.
right? Like because the game has playability, that's where really the value is long term. I always find it funny when people are like, "Oh, this is a player's game." It's like, okay, well, wait. If players are playing the game, isn't that good to invest? If people,
Yeah,
actually need the cards to play the game, it's
yeah. The cards all have utility, and I think LSS has proven, time and time again that eventually most cards will have utility, either niche utility where they're like very sparsely used in certain matchups. Like I think of like Ghostly Touch from Uprising. It's a cool card, but it had very niche usage. But there are some cards like Diadem of Dream State or Alluvian Constellus or Soulbound Resolve that they barely see any play right now.
yeah.
That maybe someday they'll see, mass adoption, and there'll be something that will either make it good or make it viable and whatnot.
I picked up about I think 20 or 30 copies of Diadem of Dream State at $5 a piece because I'm like, there's no
Oh
way
my
that
god.
this is no way that a legendary is $5. You can't tell me that. And I think with that card specifically, and I think other cards as well, is it's more of the cart before the horse or the card before
Yep.
the hero. You know what I mean? Like, and there's actually a guy. I forgot
Yep.
his name. He made a video and
Oh,
he's
I
like,
do.
I know that there's a blue illusionist coming. And it was such
Yep.
a good video. And he had like all these, like, I think it was like Mirada or something. But
Yep.
yeah, that was a really good
Yeah, I
video.
know exactly what video you're talking about. It's like you think of like Diadem of Dream State, like Celestial Kimono, like Wave of Reality, like all those cards with Ward, and if they make Ward good, Diadem of Dream State
Yeah.
becomes a really good card.
Yeah.
Maybe you run like Diadem of Dream State and Tunic, and then all of a sudden, like, your Tunic ticks up to 3, you take some damage, you pop Ward, pay the Tunic counter, and you draw a card. Could be pretty nasty.
Oh yeah, because a ponder token that's like one extra card turn, draw a
Yeah.
turn. That could be like pretty nuts, especially if the ward. The only problem with that card is it has ward. That's literally the only problem. If you can fix that with a hero ability, it's golden. And I remember the channel name. It's called Fabule LSS Friends. So check out that
Yeah.
channel. But yeah, I really like that guy's content. He really went through and went through the hero and his spec and everything like that. But yeah, it's just there's just so much like long term of this game that when you think about it, Tales of Aria, you joined the game, right? How many heroes were out at that time? Was it just like 10 or maybe 8? Or
Yeah.
probably 12 or 10 for classic constructed. Now there's like 40. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely wild now. I mean, like before, I remember back then it was like, the tail end of Chain and Prism was the OG Prism was still around kicking butt, and all of a sudden this ball lightning Briar stormed onto the scene, and I'm just like, yo, what did I just get dunked on by?
Yeah,
And
that
I'm just
Briar
like,
list was nuts.
yeah, and that was pre-errata too, right?
Yeah.
Because you could activate multiple times a turn. That was pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I forgot what was it. Plunder Run that made that deck like ridiculous that they kind of took out.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah, and then Plunder Run is banned currently still, right?
I think so. Yeah, it just was deemed too good of a card for those types of decks. Yeah, it's wild. And when you first started playing the game, like what organized play events did you go to? Was it armories or was it
I did a couple armories. I did some online stuff, and I played casually with friends via Discord. One of my friends too, I was playing some online games with, wanted to check out Flesh and Blood, and he's like, I'm into cards, he's into cards. I was still kind of, vaguely interested in Magic. It was, that pandemic time, most indoors a lot, and looking for something to do. And I'm just like, man, I don't know if I can bite the bullet and go back to Wizards just by the way they treat the players. So I said, give Flesh and Blood a try. I'll see if I like it. Unlimited's out. I remember seeing all the hearing about how all the first edition cards pumped, and there was that huge run up in price, and then hearing about kind of what happened with Monarch and the huge run up in Monarch, and I'm just like, well, I'll try out some Unlimited, play the game, see if I like it. And it stuck around. I enjoy collecting the game a lot. I think the art is great. I think the gameplay is great. I think the community is a lot better than the Magic community, albeit smaller, but I think that it will eventually scale out as the player base grows, and hopefully we keep a lot of that grassroots style community where everyone's generally, nice to each other and pleasant to be around, and for the most part, people take showers.
Yeah, showers being really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I went to an event, I think it was 2 months ago, and I agree with you that there's so many cool people in Flesh and Blood. Just talking to them and like, hey, like, what do you do for a living? And why are you here? And all this stuff, and just other like normal people that are just chill people. You meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of cool people. I was at the Calling Hartford, and let me tell you, man, it was at the Connecticut Convention Center, and it's a pretty large place in downtown Hartford, and it was like split. It wasn't quite 50-50. It was maybe like 60-40 other games, and then like 40% Flesh and Blood. But like when you factor in the fact that like Lorcana was there and like other like random bullshit, like it was like probably like 40 or 50% Magic, 10% Lorcana, like 40% Flesh and Blood, and like there was definitely like a Flesh and Blood vibe there. There was a lot of sellers there. I mean, there was like a couple UK-based sellers who flew across the pond to vend there.
Oh wow.
Mox in the Hole and another one. I can't remember their name. It was just like a web. It was a website based, like fleshandbloodcards.com or something like that, or .couk or whatever their name might be. So sorry if I butchered your name. But they were there. Magnolia was there. Strike Zone was there. Min Max was there. Star City had quite a full Flesh and Blood inventory. There's probably a couple other ones that I was missing there. There's a lot of Flesh and Blood cards there. A lot of opportunities to buy tons of players. I mean, I was sitting in. I was doing the second Ravenous Rabble promo. And it's like people are super approachable. I paired up with Yuanji Lee from the Fabled Runaways.
Oh yeah, great guy.
Yeah, round one, and he didn't actually show up, but he sent one of his friends to play for him, and met and I chatted with him for a while. And it turns out the guy I was sitting next to was also on the Runaways, so I was chatting with him for a while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, people are just really cool, really nice, really chill. I spent a lot of time, sitting at the Magnolia booth, going through cards, chatting with Spencer, chatting with Hemel. I chatted with the Min-Max guys for a bit, the Realm Games guys for a bit. Just kind of getting a feel for people. Just a lot of excitement around the set, and like there were people who were like, "What's that game?" I'm like, "The game's Flesh and Blood. Have you ever heard of it?" No, but it seems like it's pretty cool. You have all these people here, and I've never heard of it. I'm like, "Yeah, you should check it out someday." And I'm like, this guy was like an older gentleman. He was like probably like mid-50s. I'm like, "Yo, this is awesome."
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, and just the energy was like very, very positive, very, very positive.
It's a good point because if you're not on the internet as much, you probably aren't really exposed to Flesh and Blood. There's maybe other avenues or different markets that Flesh and Blood hasn't really captured as much. I think that college students are the biggest one, man. Like I don't really see as many college students or college people. I actually met a kid at one of the events, and I was like, "Hey, like you're young." I'm like, why don't more young people play this game? Like he was in his a young 20s, and he's like, oh, like a lot of his friends played like Super Smash Brothers and stuff. They're all into console games and stuff. But I think there's a huge market potential in there if you had like different colleges going against each other and stuff like that. It could definitely be a televised thing in the future.
Oh, for sure. Like when I was in college, you go to the lunchroom. There was I only did this for my freshman and sophomore year of college, but we had a group of guys who played Magic in the lunchroom.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, it was like every Tuesday you meet at a specific spot in the lunchroom at this specific area, and there would just be like 10, 12 dudes on lunch break playing Magic the Gathering. Like I don't see why we can't have the same thing with Flesh and Blood. I mean, It kind of helped that there was at the time when I was in college, there was an LGS across the street from the college, so that definitely influenced them a little bit. But I don't see why not. Their LGSs seem to do pretty well in college towns. So
yeah, and it's just the people have so much time. When you're a college student, you just have tons of free time when you're out of classes and studying and stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely see how that plays out. But the Hartford, was James White there? I think he was, right? Was he in his booth and everything?
I didn't see him. I didn't see James White there. I saw a lot of like the normal guys. Like I saw Blake poking around. I think Man Stamp might have been around. Like a lot of like the casting guys were around, but I didn't see James White himself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What took down the tournament? I don't think I looked up who won that.
I actually don't recall who won that that calling. I mean, it's going to be one of the heroes. I'm assuming it's probably like either KO or Kasai. But I left early on Sunday, so I didn't stay for the whole thing. But yeah, no, I heard the whole top 8 was really good, but I didn't look and see who won. But I think KO won.
I feel like a lot of top 8s recently, man, are just really diverse. I'm
Yeah.
always surprised the last the last year especially. You look at top eights and you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, the meta's so geared towards these two heroes." But then you look at the top eights and they're like a smorgasbord of random stuff that you can't predict. So I think they're doing pretty damn good, especially for 12 sets. Man,
Yeah.
it's really impressive because that's the big thing when I first got in the game and when you got in the game, there weren't that many heroes, so you'd see a lot of ones hit the top eight a lot
Yeah.
more. And the balancing issues definitely there wasn't any balancing issues, but the threat of having a balancing issues was always looming because when you have non-rotating cards, like how do you balance for that for the end of time? And when you have
Hmm.
12 full sets of cards, it's pretty wild.
I mean, like, look at like a compared to like a video game analogy. So, like, remember that video that the one guy, the Gorganian Tome made, Flesh and Blood's a fighting game. Remember that
Yes.
video?
Yeah.
So, like, you think of like Street Fighter 2 from the 90s, when you go to the character select screen, there's only 8 characters, right?
Yeah.
And then the next version, Championship Edition, you can play as the bosses, and there's 12 characters. And then they introduced Super Street Fighter 2, and they added 4 more characters. And then, by the time they got to like Street Fighter 4, the last version of like Street Fighter 4, there was like 36 characters you could play as. So it's just like, eventually these things are going to grow over time, and, creators of whether it's a game or a card game, they're just going to have to adapt and evolve. I mean, another one, League of Legends. Like you
Yep.
look at like kind of the beta League of Legends, like
It's like 20.
old school, like Twisted Fate, old school Trendemir, and then all of a sudden, season one, all the heroes, and season two, and season three, and so on and so forth. And now there's like a bajillion heroes in League of Legends. I can't even follow it anymore.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
wild. And especially with a lot of these cards that like aren't used now, and it just makes me think, especially with a lot of the Majestics, like when a applicable hero comes that uses those cards, like what's going to happen. Like I don't know about you, I've been specking a lot on like 25-cent Majestics, 20-cent Majestics, like I just don't see a Majestic worth that much, like staying that way for like a long period of time.
Yeah. It's like what's that one card from? Was it Outsiders maybe, or maybe it was Dynasty? I can't remember which one. Like Poison the Well, that like basically hoses life gain. That card's
Yeah.
like dirt cheap. But like, what if like just I'm probably taking crazy pills, but what if life gain becomes an actual thing? Because there was a period of time in Magic the Gathering's history where life gain was actually a thing, and to have a card that hoses life gain, it's like, oh, I play my life gain card, whatever the future life gain card is, and boom, it's like, yo, I played my Uno reverse. Instead of gaining life, you're taking that damage.
Yeah, no, that card I think is highly underrated. I've been buying some of those, but like if you think about just the cost effectiveness of it,
Yeah.
it does like say someone plays a sigil red, which a lot of people play red sigils in pro stuff anyway. Is that if you when you play that against them, it's 0, so 1 card, and it essentially does 6 damage because it prevents them from gaining 3, and then it makes them lose 3. So
Yeah.
it's a really hot card. I mean, 0, basically 1 card for 6 damage is pretty damn good. That's definitely, it seems like a sleeper. But to your point, it's probably not run in every single deck. But if that does become the meta, where many decks are playing heal, then that card could definitely come up. It reminds me a lot of what's the card? What's the anti-chain card that's not used anymore? That card popped back in the day.
I don't remember.
Dude, it's killing me. But there's this one card, Snag, and you
Oh
had to
yeah.
run 3 copies of Snag. Now that card's like $3 or $4, or maybe it's even a little cheaper. But back in the day, those things used to be like $15-$20 a pop because you had to run that against chain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of like the way the Flesh and Blood market works. Like, remember that, going back to Everfest, remember that card that was really good against ninjas? Um, the, it's the one that reduces the attacks by 1 or whatever, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I know exactly. You draw, each person draws a card, reduces by
yeah,
1.
yeah.
It's killing me.
And that card spiked to like $20 or 20 something dollars, and now it's back like to like 7 or 8, I think.
Yeah.
And that's like, okay, well, if we get a ninja set, come in, just saying, that could be a pretty good, card to have, if you don't already have copies. But I think people have talked about that one, so I think that one's well on people's radars. But like, those like looking for those interactions of cards, like there's a lot of Everfest cards of like that could be potential have like PV applications. Like you think of like a card like Fire Breathing. Well, what happens if
Yep.
in PvE someone else can pitch? They've got an ability or a card that allows you to pitch into someone else's, and they can
Yeah.
just pump your Fire Breathing. That could be insane for PvE.
Oh, for sure. Another one is Last Ditch Effort. I think that card is extremely underrated now with what was it, the gold tokens? Because if you can stack like 4 gold tokens and it's late in the game, you can pitch a bunch of times in a row to make your deck like nothing, and then Last Ditch Effort procs. You know what I mean? Because before you didn't
Yeah,
really have a way to get cards out of your deck and into your pitch zone. Now you can put like 3 or 4 cards into your pitch zone from your deck, and then it's like, oh, my deck is nothing, coming in for 8, go again. So it's wild how that is. And overall too, like some cards look kind of weird where it's like, that card Slay, it just destroys an angel. But it's kind of good that they do have those types of cards that are anti X, because if
yeah,
those things become better, right? Like let's say Prism becomes crazy, right? You have these cards that are already in the game that are dirt cheap that you put in your deck to counter. It's a smart, very smart, well designed aspect there.
yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely smart. I mean, I think there's just a lot of hidden gems out there, and I think if you look hard, and you can find a lot of value, whether it's overlooked 1.0 cards or some of those 2.0 cards that people are like, they might be ripping through Outsiders or ripping through Dusk Till Dawn or even heavy hitters, and they're just like, I don't know about this bulk spin or bulk empire. I mean, you can find some gold in there
Yeah,
eventually.
definitely. And if it's not gold now, it might be in the future. You just never know.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is. I'll just buy the ones for 20 25 cents and let it ride for a while. What are you drinking tonight?
I've got some Grey Goose and sparkling.
Nice, man. I've got some
Wait,
wild turkey honey. Cheers, man.
cheers.
So what do you think of
So what?
heavy hitters?
Oh, we're mind reading. So I was going to ask the same thing, dude. I think Heavy Hitters is probably the best set in a while.
Agreed.
I feel like it gets enough of the collectors interested. The players are very happy from what I'm seeing. It impacts the meta, and LSS seems to be doing a good job managing the waves of release of products. You know, I was able to call my store that I ordered through, and they were able to go through and order more at distro for me to get me some more product. And I feel comfortable knowing that cases are still selling on TCG Player at like the 340s, and singles are still holding their value. I mean, hell, Kasai was selling for like $430, like the last sold for on TCG Player, and Kaya was selling for like 280, and
It's pretty
it's a
wild.
healthy, pretty healthy market.
Yeah, is Kasaya the hardest of them to get? I haven't really looked at the pull rates.
I that people have told me that, but I don't know if that's just like from anecdotal experience or whatever. But I'm hearing generally that like it's a 2-to-1 ratio for every 3 marbles you're gonna hit. You're gonna hit 2 young and 1 adult. So that
Okay.
inherently makes the adult heroes of all of them harder to hit.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. And I think it's one Marvel per 2 cases.
roughly, yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's I think what I've heard. Which yeah, I mean, it's just good. It spreads it out. It makes it
Yeah,
so it's not as like frequent. And I like honestly the biggest thing I like about the Marvels is there's nothing like below $50 from what I've seen. Like I think if a Marvel like full art card goes below $50, it just invalidates the specialness of it, you know? Because like
Yeah.
when you open it up, you want to be like, whoa, this is more worth more than the box. Like this is a big hit.
Yeah, I mean, you get that, and you get a couple Majestics in your box that you just completely paid for, and that's a feel good. You know what I mean?
Oh hell yeah! Especially because like Uprising, man, I hit like one of the dragons, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This card looks so good. $10. Like what? What is this? So
Like,
I
oh
like how
man, like you get excited because you see like Dracona Optimi or Tomal Tire, one of the more expensive ones, and you're like, oh yeah, I wonder if this was expensive. They're like, oh, the Ender is only $10. Yeah, I know what you
yeah.
mean.
I don't want to like have to Google to know that I got a good hit. Like because
Yeah.
those full art dragons look so good. Like any of the full art foil ones, man, that was such a good direction. And that was probably with 2.0, right? I think that's when they first started like the
Yeah.
full art Marvel.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it is. Well, technically, Starvo though in Everfest, I think was
That's
before that.
true. Starvo was like the first big Marvel
Yeah.
that kind of like pushed the door with that. But no, I agree with you. I think they really hit heavy hitters out of the park. I think a lot of people compare it to Welcome to Wraith, and I do see that aspect of it. But I
Yeah.
think it's more like a Crucible War. Like Crucible War was great because I had a bunch of new Blitz heroes. But what
Yep.
sucked is you couldn't play them in sealed. There's
Right.
there's no sealed crew because you just didn't have the card pool
Yeah.
there. So having a set that has six playable heroes and where you can draft it is brilliant. It's really nice, and the whole like theme of being in an arena and everything, it's pretty
Mhm.
cool.
One of the things I don't see too many people talking about as far as the Boxy B goes is how we went from the last several sets being like extremely majestic focused,
Hmm.
where just Majestics are holding like the value of the box. Like you look at Bright Lights, the Marvels hold like no value with the exception of like Big Daddy Teclobosson / Singularity, who's like virtually impossible to hit, but he's like $500, so it's
There's a
fine.
chance.
Yeah. But like the regular Marvels aren't really Marvels, hold no value since Teklo isn't that good. And you look, okay, well, what else is there? There's like Warband of Bologna, but that's not expensive because whatchamacallit, Bolton's not particularly great. And then you look at Hyper X3, that's not particularly great. And you have some people play adaptive plating a bit, and then Shriek Razors, that's like $10.
Yeah.
you know. So that's kind of another feels bad, and I think there might be one other L that I'm missing. But you look at where the money cards is, like it's Heist, it's in like Already Dead, it's in like Home of Imperial Flame. Those are like $30 cards, they're like high $20 cards. But like you look at this set, heavy hitters, you have a return to powerful equipment, which is something we really haven't had in a long time since like the 1.0 sets.
It's
Like
true.
you look at like Apex Bonebreaker, that's like a brainless 5 value on a brute fist. You look at the Guardian. A lot of people say, yeah, if you're on a budget, you don't want to buy the Gauntlets of Iron Will because it's not really needed yet. But like you figure um, that plus that the second trigger when you block with it is going to be great into things like Ninja. Well,
Yep.
guess what's coming out within the next couple sets? Mysteria.
And
You
Mysteria.
know, you look at Balance of Justice. It's definitely at least arguably as good as Crown of Providence, depending on the situation. So like we're back to powerful equipment yet, which we haven't seen in like I feel like a very long time since 1.0. And I think that's part of the reason why sets sets EV is high because people want to open it and get the equipment. Because generally you get an RF of pretty much any of the equipment, with the exception of Orb Aegis. You're like it's pretty much just as good as a young Marvel, if not better. And you get a CF. I mean, heck, if you hit a CF Balance of Justice, I think that's like a $200 card right now.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head, and I feel like the cards in Bright Lights, it feels like you just like it was so complex to get the payoff. Like Hyper X3 or whatever, you have
Yeah.
to like what is it, like banish like more than 3 times under and like put it underneath it, and then after that, once per turn, you can banish and like draw a card or something. It's very complex. Where
Yeah.
the ones in heavy hitters are just very like straightforward, like you said, brainless. Five damage or whatever. Like yeah, I totally see that. And yeah, I think that yeah, you're right. And adaptive plating, dude, that one, it's I've seen people use it effectively, but I'll admit, like I still don't know how to use that. Like you put it in a random slot and then it defends with another one, and yeah, it's a little
Dude,
complex.
I don't know either. I remember going on whatchamacallit, I think it was like the purple Discord,
Uh huh.
and like people were asking how it's working, how it needs to work, and like there was like a judge in the chat when it after it got spoiled, and then like people were asking the judge, and the judge was like, I don't know, I'm just like, well, this is gonna be an interesting one.
Well, that's a problem too when Bright Lights is supposed to be like a new player set, like
Yeah,
if new players see that and they're like, "Oh wow, like the art is really damn good," which it is, but like it blocks for 0 or it blocks for 2.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but I totally agree with you. Like the effects of the legendaries in this set seem really good, and not only that, dude. Like the generic M's. I think this set might be the most generic M's in of any set. Is that true? Correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
don't know. I haven't counted.
It's a good amount. I think there's at least 5 or 6. Some of the really good ones. What's the one where for every blocking card on the chain link, it gets +1? That's wild.
Yeah.
You just put in your arsenal and you just wait to go off as a ninja. Wait for them to block out, and then you come in for like, a 0 for 7, 0 for 6. It's really good value.
Yeah. And then there's that other card. What was it? Standing Orders? Is that one? I can't remember what it's called.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, the one that had a lot of hype on it. That basically could be a 0 for 6 or a box for 5,
Yeah.
where you get rid of your arsenal. I remember that one had a lot of hype. I still think that card's strong. I just don't think it's found a home or a place yet in the meta. But I mean, that card can be really good. It could be a little bit like what was it from Outsider, Down and Dirty, where everyone says, "Yo, this card is cracked." And then for a while, like until Dromai started becoming prevalent, people didn't really play it, and they're like, "Hey, I need a popper." I'm like I'm not like a hero that's like shitty at poppers like Dorinthia, and I say that because I like Dorinthia. I was like, yo, I might need to put these in my deck so I can arsenal it. They think I'm putting like an attack reaction. They're gonna swing and like popper,
I didn't
or
think
something like
about
that.
that. It is a popper, and you can put in your arsenal block. That's wild. I didn't hear. I didn't know about that interaction. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of cards and heavy hitters that still haven't like found their place yet. People are still like testing it out. I think there was a recent tournament where a Prism actually won, right? The new Prism with the Angels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great to see.
Calling Liverpool, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. Yeah, Prism cards, man. I had a bunch of Prism cards to list into that. You know, had to take the shameless liquidity while I could. But yeah, no, the Prism hype's there. I mean, I saw like things were moving. Angel started getting bought out again. I mean, I sold 3 Light of Soul RF. I had an extra Luminaris Angel's Glow. Sold that for $70.
Your Monarch bags are looking pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Monarch bags are looking pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like I sold a Celestial Cataclysm, not too much, and I think I sold a couple Valiant Dynamos. That's not Prism, but I have to look at my Prism cards now, see if anything else has
Oh
anything
yeah,
else popped.
it's running Vestige, and Vestige has been getting bought.
Oh, I'll have to list that. I've
Yeah,
got
I
a
think I've
couple
got
vestiges.
a couple CF Vestiges that I might want to list. So that one is an interesting one. I think I think CF Vestige went from like 35 and now is back up to like 70. I mean, it's still relatively
Wow.
low for a mono cold foil, but I mean, how rare the mono cold foils are relative
Oh
to
yeah.
others. Those easily could be 100 plus.
Oh, for sure. Especially like I mean, that's aged a very long time now as well. And yeah, compared to the other sets, that one definitely has a lower amount. It's crazy how much those have fallen too. I think the unlimited versions were like $20 or something. I opened some Mon U like 5 months ago, and I saw $20. I'm like, I'm not selling this for $20. There's no
Mhm.
way. But yeah, that's crazy. And it makes you think too, you know, I don't know if you think this, but like you have this big tournament, you have I don't know, 400 people join, and if only like 5 of those 400 people are playing New Prism, or like 10 or 11, that's not that many people. So if like
Yeah.
how many New Prisms would have made the top list if a bunch of people played that? And especially like what if like really good players played that, you know, like a bunch of them just decided to play it. And you know, you could really see like the meta puzzle just never seems to be solved from what we've seen in the last
Right.
3 years.
And I think it's going to be harder to solve. I mean, I'm not like a super competitive player by any
Yeah.
means, but like coming from like the competitive fighting game scene, I used to play in like a lot of the tournaments for fighting games. Um, the more diverse and the larger the field gets, the more you have to learn the matchups, and the more like, especially in a game like Flesh and Blood, like if you know, like okay, like think back to like a minute ago. Oh, hey, I know I'm gonna face like at least 4 Lexis. I'm gonna make sure I got my deck built to deal with Lexi. But if there's a whole bunch of different viable heroes that'll bring different things to the table, you're just gonna have to be frankly good at the game because you can't prepare for every single matchup.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a new interesting era for gameplay for Flesh and Blood, which is pretty exciting. And like as a collector, I think that a collector who likes to collect generally a little bit of everything, it makes me excited because, it's going to make people want to collect a whole bunch of different things rather than just like, oh man, I remember this card. This card was really good, or oh, I only want the old stuff. Or I think it might bring a little bit of value to collecting some of the 2.0 stuff that a lot of collectors don't seem to like as much.
Oh, for sure. And you can see them revisiting as well. Like, did you see? I forgot where it was released, but they were talking about how there's like Sonata something or other is supposed to interact with like Runeblade Barrier. It seemed like they were
Oh,
LSS.
Sonata Galaxia?
Yes,
That's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it seems like LSS looked at Runeblade Barrier and was like, okay, this hasn't been used at all since it was
Yep.
printed. What card can we create that synergizes with this that makes it more relevant? And there will probably be even new heroes maybe that are created that uses rune chants that are mitigation of stuff. So it's great to see that as well, that they're actively looking at like different cards out there and like trying to like synergize a little bit better. But that one exactly, I think because you can like tutor for it in a way, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not a huge Runeblade stan, but yeah, I think that's how it works.
Yeah. Something about how many rune chants you have, then you can tutor for aura of a certain value, which is pretty legit. I really like that one card too that makes the opponent like discard cards. I forgot. It looks very hard to pull off, but it's one of the Sonata ones. It's
Yeah,
one.
and I remember what you're talking about. Was that one from Dynasty?
I think so. It's like the blue one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Like, I got the mental picture of the art, but I don't remember the name.
Yeah. Oh, Sonata Phantasmia. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I mean, they could make Viserai great again very easily by unbanning one card. Just saying, LSS.
Which one? I forgot.
Blood Priest Galata.
Oh, yeah. That thing was nuts.
Yeah. Make OTK Viserai great again.
Yeah, because how would people like abuse the shit out of it some way? Oh, is that OTK where you the X was related to that one that was look at the top like 30 cards of your deck, take an
Yeah.
attack action and a non-attack action, and
Although
pair
it's
them
not a
up.
can't, right?
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
thing, that thing was wild.
Yeah. No, I just listen to those. I have a couple friends who like Viserai, and they're like, yeah, they just need to unban that thing. I'm like, sure, bud. I'll back your cause, man.
I think they even said though, like, yeah, we're probably not like doing that one
Yeah.
in particular. I mean, I guess we'll see in Living Legend too. What do you think about Living Legend format?
I think Living Legend format is the future. I know
Hot
that's
take.
a bit of, I don't want to say it's a hot take because hot take seems to be slang for like a shit take that you just want to sound edgy to say. So I would say it's like a debated take. So I know there are some people who are like, okay, well, CC's been the premier format for a long time and will remain the premier format. But I understand the merits of Living Legends. Like they can balance Living Legends so people can play their favorite heroes in their favorite variants and have it just not be like Stargo Fest.
Mm.
I think I think a lot of places will start to gravitate towards that because like, oh, I want to play my favorite cards. So imagine like if you were like a Viserai player back in like 2021, and you spent what was like a CF Blood Sheath Galetta, like it was probably like $800 back then. Imagine you save up your money, you pay $800 for that thing, and you
You sold
know,
your 2008 Jeep to,
yeah,
to buy it.
yeah, you sold wheels to get a piece of cardboard, and now you're underwater because that card not only banned Viserai isn't good, and he's not 100% viable in Living Legends right now. He's not one of the. I think he's like a fringe deck, but they're gonna want to play with that stuff. People like playing with power. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at Magic the Gathering, you look at like the Vintage format, you look at Legacy format. I mean, I know Vintage is kind of a bit of a meme, but like Legacy for a period of time, Legacy was like super super popular. Back in like the mid early 2010s, I remember a lot of my friends were playing Legacy. And there's a lot of busted stuff in Commander too. Although from what I understand, there's a lot of different people play Commander differently. Now it's like, I'm mid-level Commander or low-level Commander or CEDH, and there's like different kind of groups of Commander now. But
Mm.
back when I played EDH, it was like everyone just took all their good cards that they can stuff one of that fits their colors and crammed it into their deck, and we just had degenerate games. You know,
Yeah.
so people like playing with their powerful cards, man. Let them play with the powerful cards, and I think that will get people have their blinged out Lexi deck or their blinged out Icelander deck. They're gonna want to play that. Let them bring it to the armory and play it.
You're right there. Would you say that type of personality, like there's a certain type of people who like to have a certain advantage, like with just buying a bunch of cards and constructing like a really, really powerful deck? I think there's definitely that type of vibe out there. I mean, Vintage for Magic the Gathering is definitely one. I mean, some of those decks, I mean, for especially like, Alpha, Beta, you spend
Yeah,
what, 10, 20 grand on a full like blinged out deck. I mean, like Flesh and Blood, what will be nice about it is I don't think you'll ever get to that point unless they don't like reprint certain cards. But for most of the stuff, it should be pretty accessible. But for the full blinged out stuff, you're gonna have to shell a ton of money. I mean, well, that kind of gets me into a thought process of with the Fables, right? Do you think they're going to reprint the Fable gems? Like that's been on my mind for quite a bit now, and I don't think it's been answered yet.
I so for a
Spicy.
period of time, based off of LSS's decisions on reprinting cards, I
Mm.
personally was not a big upset about reprinting of Crown or reprinting of Tunic. I thought with the Techlo Foundry Heart, I thought that was unnecessary. But like the other two, I was relatively fine with. But I think that LSS wouldn't do that based off of their most recent actions, and I think they're trying to recommit to collectors and understand that there's a healthy balance between having collectors, because collectors are the ones who are gonna I'll just be straight, be degenerates, open up a shitload of boxes,
Oh yeah.
20, 40. Some of these guys we know are doing like 400 boxes, busting a lot of product. And, there's a need for that, that gets singles to the market. They get what they want, whether it's gradable cards or whether it's, completing a master set.
Yeah.
It helps support their LSS's bottom line, frankly, because, if we're not ordering from the game stores aren't ordering from the distros, and the distros aren't buying from LSS. So, it's a necessary evil to have both the players and the collectors. Just conversely, like, if no one's playing the game, it's kind of pointless to collect the game, because when you go to sell your cards, you're going to have a hard time selling them. I know I'm probably going to piss off a bunch of White fans, but depending on the set, there's a lack of liquidity when you're trying to move some of those White SPs, especially if you've got like a BGS Black Label or, a really high-end graded card. I mean, yeah, if you have like Bunko Babes or Azure Lane, where it's just like big old anime titties up in your face, you're probably going to be okay. But if you like, certain animes, and you like that anime, and you try to sell it later because, what was that post on the Flesh and Blood Marketplace? Oh, my car broke. I need to sell all these rainbow foil for that Easter. Remember that shit? That was funny.
No. What was that?
Oh, it was like
First edition Easter.
It was Peter D, the European backpacker dude, who's like a high-end single seller, and he's like, yeah, I need to sell like my car broke. I need to sell like 10 rainbow foil first ed E-strikes. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you driving, dude? Are you driving like a Ferrari?
That's wild. Did he actually had those?
Yeah.
Wow, that is wild. I mean, there's some people who got in super early in the game and they're just like, I'm old and, I'm going to hodl. But yeah, Weiss, it seems like that game is, a game is like all IP, right? And it's all based off of like scarcity. They underprint a good amount, but to their market, right? They don't try to overprint, because then they're going to get people pissed off and not interested anymore. So it seems like that's what they do.
I mean, it works though, because like the anime collector types, they get emotional. They want to collect what they want to collect, and they want to make their dedication shelves, and they have their favorite character, a lot of the figurines, the statues, and they're gonna try to get that BGS Black Label White anime babe and put that right up next to the statues, and they'll have the DVD box sets and all that stuff. And I'm an anime fan too, so I can't knock it too hard. But some of those collectors, they're pretty serious. And then some of them also are players too. And from what I've been told, that if it's like a meta playable card, some of them like to pimp out their decks, and they're gonna buy SPs just to put in their decks. And some of those are like $500 cards that they're just like, yo, yeah, they just don't care. I'm just gonna play them. So.
I have to say, I was actually seriously considering buying some Weiss. I think it was Attack on Titan, like one of those graded cards with like the biggest hits. That is such a good anime, and but I don't know. I just held back. I did buy a bunch of there's like a Cowboy Bebop what is it, set from Universes, and I set collected that. That was fun.
Okay.
So I'm a bit of an anime nerd. So no, I feel you. And there's a lot of people out there who like their specific anime, and they see, oh wow, there's cards printed of it. I'm gonna collect the whole set and put it on my shelf and stuff. So yeah, I mean, they do good for their certain market. But yeah, no, Flesh and Blood, I don't know. It's gonna be tough because like with the Fable stuff, right? The gems. I think you're right. I think that they don't print them again, but it's going to be tough because like you have certain things like that Bolander list from Icelander where Michael Hamilton used the heart and gains like 3 health over the course of a game, or maybe even more, and that is a big part of the strategy for certain matchups. And I don't think it like totally like you need that card to play the list. Of course you don't. But it's going to be interesting to see that conversation emerge from the player base if gems are only for like no reprints, and this is kind of like a more of a collector item, and you can use it in your deck. But of course, we all know gems don't make the deck. You can't even block with it, and they're very situational, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think Heart is going to make a bit of a comeback because I'm a Warrior player and I saw the latest deck tech from Josh Lau,
Hmm.
and he's got Heart in his latest Dorinthia list. So
And it has
so
Light of
I
Soul.
mean,
Oh
well
no,
that
that's
the Prism list was Light of Soul, but you know the Dorinthia list has Heart in it. And
oh
I think I've heard from somebody that some Olympia lists have Heart in it as well. And I know Olympia is kind of like a half baked hero, and I know LSS said that they don't have like his weapon's not out yet, and he probably needs a little bit more help to get viable. But it'll be interesting, once they kind of move when Olympia moves away from hatchets, kind of where he lands and all that. So we'll see. And then there's I and Kano. Kano likes I.
yeah.
Kano's pretty good right now, right?
I think so. I saw him. He won the tournament down here like 3 months ago at the Haven, battle hardened, and it was nuts. I mean, there was a Kano player. He won, I think, on turn one, like against Tom, who was playing assassin. It's just nuts. Like
That's
you,
wild.
yeah, you pull the right cards at the right time in the right order, and you just nuke the opponent. It's nuts.
I mean,
But
that's like Magic the Gathering vintage level stuff, man.
yeah, right. It's pretty wild. I've been researching a little bit on the brainstorm list. I really like that. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't.
It's really cool. It's brainstorm is whenever you draw a card, you deal 1 damage to your opponent, and essentially you like get a ton of draw in your deck, and you also have equipment that you cash in to get silver tokens. So you draw even more, and every time you use a silver token, you draw and you deal
Oh,
1 damage. It's a pretty cool list. I think in time that will be the one of the better decks in the Living Legend format. I think when you have more and more cards that are a card draw, it's just gonna be nuts. You're just gonna be like drawing a ton of cards in your deck, you know? Because that's the problem with Kano now is like you hit a roadblock and then you're done. But if you have
yeah.
less and less roadblocks, then you just you draw your whole deck. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, if you can draw your whole deck and you could have like a huge hand, like going back to that card I was talking before, Fire Breathing, man, you could just drop that thing and just pump,
Yeah,
pump, 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 and it's dead.
yeah, it's true. Oh yeah, yeah. The cards that it synergizes with are what's the WTR generic that lets you reshuffle your cards from your hand into your deck and then draw up. That does basically 4 damage because you put all 4 cards in your
Oh, yeah.
hand into your deck. You draw 4. That's 4. And then there's a potion that does the same thing. So you do your helm. That's 4. You do your
Yeah.
potion. That's another 4, and that's already 8 damage. So it's a pretty cool deck list. But yeah, I was just thinking about the Fables because I remember when the Bullander list was big, the Heart of Fyendel went up to like $500 a card, which was pretty wild. And it will be interesting to see if that happens again with other stuff and if anyone rees. But agreed with what you were saying earlier, like collectors are a really big part of the game and like they dump a lot of money. Like,
Yeah.
especially in certain Discord groups out there.
Yeah.
Just seeing like so many boxes in one place opened up and like
Yeah.
shelves of stuff. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it is wild, and I like to hear, the positivity around the players. I'm in many different discords. I'm in some of the whale discords or collector discords, but I'm also in some other, like content creator discords, and I'm in player-based discords. And I try to get like a generalized opinion, but like I'm seeing people who are like players, and now they're like, oh, I'm buying my first case now because this site is so hype, or oh, I normally only buy like a couple boxes or a case of set, but now I'm buying 3 cases or I'm buying 5 cases. And I'm like, that's positive for the game.
It's
That
true.
people want to go out there and buy the cards and not just like, oh, I'm just gonna be like a stiff and just wait on TCG Player and just buy all the singles that I need and just be done with it. I think that's positive for the game. The set seems to be holding its value pretty well. We'll see what happens after LSS releases Wave 3, 4, 5, Wave 69, whatever.
Yeah.
How the product gets released to the market and how the market handles it. But, I've got a little bit of renewed confidence in kind of how LSS is managing it. And, this makes me look at, okay, well, I want to kind of increase the amount of heavy hitters because I went very, very light in the beginning. And now I kind of want to up my purchasing for heavy hitters. And it makes me more confident to want to go into the next set a little bit stronger. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Especially with the single sellers too, because they buy like 100 boxes, right? And if they can just break even after buying 100 boxes, opening 100 boxes, and selling cards singles into the market over 1 to 2 months, it doesn't really incentivize them or make them want to buy more of the next set. But when they do get that hit of, okay, I open 100 boxes, it was a lot of time, money, and energy to sell them, but I in turn made a 20-30% profit. That's going to really make them want to do that activity in the future. So it does seem currently that heavy hitters has done that to the market. And I really like, man, the whole point where they put the supplemental product and they basically deleted it, but then put the cards from the supplemental product in like 3 sets. That was like chef's kiss, masterstroke, brilliant. Because no one really likes the supplemental products. Like they're nice, but dude, drafting product is just so important.
It's like really weird. The only people, and I'm sorry, I'm picking on some of my friends here, but like the only people who like supplemental products that I've talked to are honestly single sellers.
Why is that?
Because they tend to have good EV even
That's
well
fair.
after the release. Like you look at like Dusk Till Dawn. So players hated it because it's not a draftable set and the power level was low. A lot of collectors didn't like it because it was kind of focused on a very narrow scope, and they weren't in love with the angels. Unless you like angels and you collect angels, like I like angels a lot. I've always liked angels, and even though I don't play Prism, I still wanted to collect the angels because I just like angel art. But most collectors I spoke to didn't like Dusk Till Dawn, even though it was supposed to be the return to Monarch, the return to glory. But that kind of fell a little flat. The art cards kind of fell a little flat. But when you open it for value, there's still a lot of value there. The Marvels still hold their value all right. Levia's still like a $500 card. Scowling Flesh Bag is still a banger. Warmonger's Diplomacy is still a banger. Crown of Providence rebounded from its lows. That's still like an $85 card. Some of the EAs are still worth money. Dianic Carapace, Empyrean Rapture. So there's still some money in the set.
Oh yeah, and the Angels overall went up in price because Saint bought $10,000 of them on TCG Player.
Oh, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I'm just kidding.
So I'll just say it for the record. I bought a shitload of Angels on Black Friday.
You did?
So yeah,
so you were the guy.
I was part of the guy. I only bought specific Angels for ones that I wanted to grade to try to get a 9.5ing. So I'm going for a 9.5 graded set of Angels.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So I bought like probably 5+ of the ones I needed. I think it was about 4 different ones.
So did you try to buy from like sellers who weren't didn't have that many copies because maybe they don't know what they have, or what's your strategy around that? Because it's tough when you buy all these cards on TCG Player. There's no image, so you don't really know what the grade is ahead of time.
So because of so I have the TCG Player subscription thingy, so I was getting 17% cash back. So I just went for a low price, needed it, and I'm like, these things are too low anyways. So I'm just gonna buy all the cheap ones, hold them. When more stuff gets spoiled and Prism gets a little bit more helps because I'm like they're not going to keep New Prism bad forever. Prism's way too popular of a character, way too loved, and overall, like the legacy cards from like the OG Prism,
Hmm.
like it's a strong hit and base. So yeah, OG Prism goes away, Luminaris goes away, but all the other stuff she had, Footsteps didn't go away. That's still there.
Yep, that's a
So
huge
I
card.
figured eventually she'd get played. So I'm just gonna hold on to them, and I'm just gonna go for my graded set. I've got like 10, 5, 10 copies of each of them. I keep a couple for myself, grade a couple of them. I've sold a few here and there on spikes. Um,
Something I'm wondering with those cards too is, dude, how do you understand the centering for a Marvel card? Because it's hard to like see the centering, right?
yep.
Because it's just a
There's
full
little
art.
tricks you can do using the border of like the how the the name of the card right on the top of the marble.
Hmm.
There's little tricks you can do for that. Um, the other thing you can do is you can look at the back of the card, and generally speaking, the back shouldn't be too far off from the front. And you can do some comparisons to where the back is aligned versus the front to see how close the back and the front are aligned, and then use that
Oh,
kind of as a gauge. Another thing is like if you're buying Belgian print, you can see whether the corners are like diamond cut or not, and that will also give you a pretty good indication because that means like the corners are diamond cut. The sheet was kind of not planted down, so when the went to cut, it wasn't centered well. So that's like
gotcha.
another indicator.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good example of like you have a collection goal, right? You want to get all the 9.5 angels, but you don't want to spend a certain amount and you think they're underpriced. So you buy more than what
Yep.
you need, you grade them. The stuff that grades below 9.5 you sell at, and you wait until it sells at a higher price later on. That's really smart, man. And
Yep.
I do a similar thing. I'm like I'm interested in set collecting, buy a bunch of copies of cards that I think are undervalued, sell them at a later date for a higher price that funds my endeavor for, future set collecting. So I feel you.
Yeah, man. I mean, I did the same thing with Scowling Fleshbag. I'm like, one day Brute is gonna be good. So I bought a shitload of them, 35 to $45 for the cold foil ones,
Oh my
and now they're
gosh.
like I'm the TCG low at 85.
Wow. That's awesome.
So it's just like, I'll try to get some nice copies and see where things go. And
Oh,
that's
for
kind of
sure.
how I try to do things. Be smart about it. If something expensive, I'll try to wait for it to come down and then try to find a nice copy. I'm not trying to just be desperate and just FOMO into the market. Because I think the period of FOMO for the most part is gone. I think people have learned their lesson after listening to Mr. DeGeorge.
Well, it's hard too when you're a person who's interested in a game, right? Like Flesh and Blood.
Yep.
You see all these content creators talking about the new set. You see LSS pumping content and like people opening boxes and everything and all these new cards and you want to research them and everyone's playing the new stuff. Everything's geared around the new stuff, so it makes you want the stuff. But honestly,
Yeah.
man, we're on like this is like the 12th set. If you just look at any of the other sets in the past, like I've been buying, like I said, Everfest rainbow foils, right? No one's looking at that now. So it's like it's
No.
a perfect time to get all the stuff that I previously didn't want to shell out money for. And there's so many like great sets in the game that like we'll see their day in the sun probably in the future, like cold
Yeah.
foil trinkets and potions someday.
And I know there's a lot of guys who got heavy bags in the trinkets and the potions. So my heart and thoughts and prayers go out to them.
Oh,
But
for sure.
yeah, and now is the time to pick that stuff up. I mean, there were so many banger um, Majestics in Everfest, man. I mean, look at
Was it swing big?
yeah, I mean, swing big, man. What was that one card for a data doll? That specialization?
Mm-hmm.
Was it microprocessor or was it BIOS update? I can't remember.
I
I
forget.
think it might be a microprocessor.
Mm-hmm.
But like, did you hear the James White interview who said, where he said Dash IO was originally supposed to be Data Doll, and the reason why
Yeah.
they couldn't make it Data Doll was because of that specialization. But what if they
Oh.
figure out what if they figure out a way to make an adult Data Doll? You know, like that card's like $1, sub $1, and like you read that card, I'm like, that card's like Jace the Mind Sculptor in Flesh and Blood, and I'm just like, this card's nasty, but it just doesn't have like an application yet.
Yeah, is it the one where Data Doll's like doing this like thing like this?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that card's like 50 cents. It's nuts. Like, yeah. But you're right. Like I remember that interview, and you're right. And I think he said something about the lore too, where like uh, Dash uploads Data Doll's memories into like her somehow, and
Mhm.
that's how they kind of like geared it around the lore, but also like made it so that they didn't have to gear it around that card. Yeah. That's another great card example. It's like a 50 cent a dollar card, but it's really powerful if a certain hero comes out
Yeah.
in the future. But heavy hitters, kind of circling back, what do you think is going to happen with the whole supply stuff? Because kind of just giving a ballpark recap. We've heard that Legend Story Studios does a strategy where they hold product and they siphon it into the market. And we've known this for a pretty long time, but it seems with heavy hitters that is happening to either a greater degree, or the market's consuming more product than it had in the past. But like, do you think that a bunch of more product is going to come into the market, and like, do you think like certain prices are going to hold, and when do you think they're going to put more stuff into the market, like more product? Because right now it's February, so the
Yeah.
the product's been out for 3 weeks, a month.
Something like that, like 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
I think that like going back to what LSS states is kind of one of their main goals going back to the early days. Their goal is to support the LGS. So like when you think about kind of how an LGS is run, and I know this from my childhood LGS, or one of my childhood LGSs, where my friend's father owned it, and he kind of explained a little bit about kind of what he did, kind of how he operated, and he would explain how like the bulk of his product is ordered, pre-ordered from distribution, and he would get, okay, I know that these are how many players I have, this is how many boxes they're pre-ordering, this is how many events I'm going to run, this is how many boxes I think I'm going to sell afterwards. If I think the set is at minimum okay, and I know I need to have singles to support the store, and this is how many boxes I'm going to open for like a given Magic set. And then what I'll do is, I know people are going to trade in singles and whatnot for store credit, and I know I'm going to get some singles that way. And he kind of had a little bit of a formula to it. And like when you think about how that model works, you need to have product that maintains its value to actually support the LGS, because they're not going to want to buy the product. They're not going to want to host events. They're not going to want to cater to Flesh and Blood players if a set comes out and then the box goes to $55, like
Yeah.
a certain set that did recently, and they're holding bags because they're that $55 is below their cost shipped, unless they're buying ridiculously large amounts of product, and they're like a huge superstore, like a Realm or a Magnolia or a MinMax.
Yeah.
So like if you're just a normal store, like one of the ones near me or one of the ones near you, they might be above average, but they're not like a superstore that does a ton of Flesh and Blood and travels to every event. Um,
Yeah,
you
because you get the
know,
volume
that's,
discounts, right? They have
yeah,
economies of scale where, let's say, for instance, normal price for distro is $65 a box. They can get it for maybe 58 if dollars a box
yeah,
if they spend like X amount of dollars or order
yep,
1,000+ boxes. So
yeah,
what you're saying is very true, and that's kind of like the whole basis for map. And the people who say like, I don't know why there is map in the first place. LSS can't like decide what the price per product is. It's like, you
Yep.
dummy. Like, the reason why is so if you don't have map, then you have like these big Walmart type companies who can buy like tons of like millions of dollars worth of product and then just like choke all the small stores out,
Yeah.
you know. So that's why it needs to be done. I know I went on a rant there, but so basically what you're saying too is like, with heavy hitters, like stores need to like make money from the product. I
Yeah,
think that's where you're going.
they need to make their money back is basically
Yeah.
where I was trying to go with this, right? So like, okay, so LSS prints, I don't know, I'm just gonna use round numbers, let's say 100,000 boxes.
Yeah.
And they know that, to support pre-release and launch across the country, they're gonna need to dump 40,000 of those boxes onto the market immediately. And then they know there's going to be residual demand for the next couple months where stores are going to be drafting, players are going to be like, shit, I didn't get enough cards, I still want to rip some product. So they're probably going to have to do 20, $30,000, 20, 30,000 boxes more. They'll slowly drip that out into the market, but you figure by the time that second, third wave happens, they're going to retain its value. But LSS could be, say, I'm just hypothetically saying this, they could still be sitting on 30,000 more boxes, and then at that
Yeah.
point, my guess, this is strictly speculation, is they're probably going to then release it in smaller waves to distro, and at that point, then you'll start to see price erosion. But like if you're a single seller or you're a store, that 2 months should be more than enough time for you to recoup your capital.
Hmm.
And then by that time, you're going to see meta changes, meta adaptations, more products going to be coming to market. So singles should drop a little bit. And then at that point, the new set will be coming. People will be looking to rotate out of singles
That's the big
and
thing,
get
dude.
ready for
When
the
the new
next
set
set.
comes out, like all these consumers are like, "Oh wait, there's a hotter new toy that I can buy,"
Yeah.
and that's when they start. You're right, and then, I mean, that's when I think you do see like the drop of singles when people realize, okay, there's another thing out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for a while there, remember like Warmonger's Diplomacy was like a $50 card at its
Yeah,
non-foil for a little bit. Like you look now, I mean, Warmonger's Diplomacy is still Warmonger's Diplomacy, but I look today, that shit's a $35 card.
that's wild.
And
Yeah,
like, who knows? Will it go down to 30? Will it go down to 25? We'll see. We'll see where the meta takes it. But
it's like that
the
Sunny in
card at the base.
Philadelphia joke where they're like, "How low? I can go lower." Like, yeah, and
But yeah,
especially because
no,
there's all these different, cards that you can put in your deck, and yeah, $35 a card is a bit. It reminds me a lot of Surgical Extraction. Like that was a $50 card for a while,
oh yeah,
and now it's like dirt cheap.
yeah. I think it's like $12, right?
Yeah, like
Someone.
$12.
I mean, that was partially due to the Outsiders printing error where they mixed up that and Regicide on the print sheets.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big part of it. But even though people might look at that and think, oh, like that's a big, oopsie daisies, like that. Honestly, I talked to a bunch of single sellers, online. They were saying, man, that card really helped them like become,
Oh yeah,
profitable and want to buy more. Like you hit one of those, and that's almost the cost of a box for just a Majestic.
yeah. No, I remember hearing about like the collation issues on Outsiders, and I personally liked Outsiders a lot because one of my second favorite class, or one of my second favorite heroes is like Azalea. So I naturally like that set a good amount. But it was overall like a good set. The draft experience, and granted, I only played draft once or twice, but the draft experience was a good experience, and the theme I thought was really freaking cool. I loved the art on Premeditate. I thought the whole set was a banger. I enjoyed opening the product, but from like a financial standpoint, I did not enjoy opening the product. But I enjoyed opening the product. It's like I was above rate on the Marvel codexes. I think I opened 10 cases of that, and I hit like 3 Marvel codexes. And I'm just like, yo, I'm never opening this shit again because
Yeah.
I'm like way above rate, and I'm just done.
Dude, I feel it. Honestly, I've been like burned so many times, like just I think I'm terrible at opening like the luck and whatever. And I know like at the end of the day, I were like, okay, I didn't pull very good, but I am gambling. Like what I did was literally like a slot machine. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But man, lately I've just been literally I buy a case, I open 3 boxes, don't pull anything good, and then I save one sealed box. On my wall, I have like a box of
Yep.
every single sealed product of Flesh and Blood. Like that's one of my collections as well. And like yeah, just buy a case, open 3 boxes, don't hit anything, and then the box with the L or the Fable is sitting on my shelf, just eyeing me down. But
But that's part of the thing though. Is like gambling is fun, man.
dude, it
I
is.
mean, some people go full degen on DraftKings. Shout out to DKNG Moon for selling me all that WAC one shit when he blew out his collections on eBay.
I heard about
Um,
that. What's the
yeah,
story about that?
he's the CFO of DraftKings.
Uh huh.
And for whatever reason, I mean, the guy's the CFO of a publicly traded company. I don't think that it's a matter of money where he has, oh, I have to sell my fab collection, so I'm not going to be able to put food on the table. I'd venture to guess that it was probably like his wife was probably like, "Yeah, too much shit, get this out of the house," or something of that nature.
Yeah.
Um, but he blew out his fab collection. I heard through the grapevine that he tried to reach out to some high-end whales and to try to move his collection, and he got some offers, and his hubris got in his way, where he could have used those losses from Flesh and Blood to offset tax gains from DraftKings, and he elected not to do it, and then he panic sold at the end of 2022, early 2023 on eBay, and he got like after fees, I'd probably estimate from what I heard, probably like 60 to 70 cents on the dollar of what he would have gotten if he just sold to one of the high end collectors who he was courting. But hey, his loss is my gain. I know myself and a lot of other WAC1 collectors picked up a good amount of stuff. I probably won at least 4 or 5 auctions of his.
Oh,
I
nice.
lost.
What kind of stuff did you get?
I got a near complete playset of Arc First Rainbow foils.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah. I got a near complete. So I picked up some of the majestic non foils. I picked up all the commons and rares and super rares of art of WTR Alpha
Mm-hmm.
non foils from him, and I picked up some Crucible War stuff first edition from him, and I think that's about it. It's about between those
Nice.
3 things. Those were spread across multiple auctions. That's like 5 or so auctions. Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff is like gone now. Like people who
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I have a bunch of WTR, Arcane Rising, Crucible War, just like big bulk. I'm selling it."
Yeah.
Like there's like nothing. Like yeah, it's wild. And I think what is it? The WTR and Arc Rainbow Foil. I've been trying to finish up that. I think I have like 20 cards I need. I reach out to Michael Lamar, Salty Whale, and he's gonna do a trade with me soon, hopefully for some Arc stuff. But yeah, no, that's fun to collect. I still don't have the Rainbow Foil M's. I don't think I ever will. Those cards are nuts.
Dude, I almost picked one up at Hartford. I'm still thinking about it. It was
Ooh, which one?
Art of War.
Oh, nice. Did it get affected by the cold foil?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But hey, their loss is my gain.
Yo, how much does that? What's the range of that card now?
It was listed for 800. I think I can get a pretty good amount lower.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, some of them are just wild. Like I think the what is it? The rainbow foil. What were we talking about? Rainbow foil art of war for sure. I mean, excuse me, Command and Conquer. Like
Those are so
that one.
expensive.
Yeah, and
There
then
was on Black Friday. There was a rainbow foil Art of War listed for $1,000 on TCG Player, first edition, and I looked at it and I had it in my cart, and I go, oh, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to pay $1,000 to get sent a fucking unlimited card and have to complain and do the whole rigmarole and then send it back? And then basically my money's held for a month.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah. And then I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna buy a whole shitload of angels. So I bought a whole shitload of angels and some other stuff. Well, guess who bought that shit?
I don't know, Saint or
Saint.
Michael.
And he
Yeah.
actually got a first edition. And I'm like, mother. And I'm like, I should have done it. I should have done it.
Yeah. It's tough with those things, man. I remember back in the day, I was so close to buying a couple things. I mean, what do you think your biggest is that your biggest regret of what do you think 2023? Mine
No.
is like, dude, that Monarch for $30 a box. I bought like 10 of them from that one store. I forgot the name, but everyone knows that meme price. It was just one store selling it around November, December 2023. Monarch Unlimited for like $30 a box. I wish I bought more of those. Like, I opened a bunch of Mon U and literally every box had at least $30 into it, or at least $25. And then some had, I think I pulled like 2 libraries out of 16 boxes. It was wild. Like, I should have gone a little bit deeper. What's your biggest regret 2023?
Well, that was my biggest regret of 2023. But my overall biggest regret of purchase I missed out on was another TCG player buy. And it's kind of funny because you would have think that I would have learned in 2023 not to make this mistake again, but I didn't. So during Fab Winter, someone listed a cold foil heart on TCG Player for the 5,500 or $6,000.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, oh, do I really want to tie up that amount of money? And I had the same thing with the fucking thing for $1,000. And someone bought it. A certain OnlyFans model bought it, and she actually got the real card, and it was cold foil.
Oh my gosh. Because what is that? That's like a $12,000, $20,000 card, depending on the grade.
Well, I saw one raw at a booth at Hartford for 12. I don't think
Yeah.
it's worth quite 12. I think that's the retail price. If you were to go probably out on the secondary market, I think it would be less than 12. But yeah, I regret that one.
Yeah, that's tough. Dude, I remember when I first started the game and the cold foil heart was like $500. I even have this video a very long time ago of me talking about cold foil heart at 500. I was like, this will never stay. Like this price is overpriced. Oh man, that's crazy how much the game exploded.
So funny thing about that. So I bought a slingshot playmat a while ago.
Yeah, me too.
And a little while ago, and I was curious on comps on it, so I started looking for comps on the Slingshot playmat because I wanted to figure out whether I'm getting a good deal or not.
Yeah.
And there's not a ton of those out there, so I wanted to kind of gauge a price for it. And some of the pricing I saw when I searched for like Slingshot mat on Purple Discord for like WTS posts brought me back to like 2020.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I got started looking at the prices in like mid
$5,000.
2020, early 2020, and I'm just like, yo, some of these prices were super cheap in the early days before things spiked and fab, and it kind of
Oh,
like, oh my god, imagine if you got in back then, holy moly.
yeah, dude, it was wild. Like I remember because I got in right before the whole like boom and everything. And I heard people between like January 2020 through August 2020, they would buy like cold foil legendary Welcome to Wraith for like $50 a pop, tectonic plating and everything. It's just, and oh man, it was wild how much stuff was going for like in the first year of the game. And I think that's, honestly, that's what a lot of people who don't know a lot about Flesh and Blood, like they think that Flesh and Blood was instantly like a money like
Right.
game, but that is so fucking false. And it kind of pisses me off when people think that. Like literally there's a year period where like nobody was investing heavily in. Well,
Right.
some people were, but the card prices out there were very like affordable, and then it just like went gangbusters. Whereas
Mhm.
now it seems like a lot of these new TCGs, it's so much cart before the horse because like the prices of singles instantly go up. It has no time, like a year or so, to marinate. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm going to say a controversial take. I don't know if we're ever going to have a card game again that has organic demand like Flesh and Blood does. And the reason why I say that, because you look at some of the card games that are coming out now, and
Yeah.
they're either going to be IP based, where you have an already built fan base for the game, or whether that's One Piece. And I'm not trying to knock on One Piece because I've heard it's actually a great game and there's a lot of player support behind it. Star Wars Unlimited. There's a good amount of hype behind that. Or if it's not IP based, you have something and it's based off of Kickstarter, whether it's Altered, which is like the new hot thing, or the
Yep.
new Kickstarter, what was it, like Nom Nom Verse or whatever, where all
Oh
the
God.
MetaZoo people did it. So
It's
like
like the
there's
new
like
Ponzi.
yeah, exactly. It's a new Ponzi scheme. You're signing up to get rug pulled. It's gonna be
Yeah.
great. Um,
To the
you
moon.
know, yeah, exactly. So like I don't think there's ever gonna be that an opportunity, or at least not for a while, where someone's going to say, hey, I've got this great idea. Let me build it out for a while, create a fully thought out game, bring it to market without having a Kickstarter or without having an established IP, to actually let things marinate for a year and then let things grow, you know?
I totally agree because if any game has any type of legs whatsoever, you're going to have that wave of investor type mentality people who realize, okay, I can make money on alpha because
Yeah.
alpha is short printed normally because they don't know the size of the market, so they can easily buy a bunch and then when supply runs out, double, triple their money. And it's been in the industry for a while. I call it like the free trendies era. It's like these trends of games that like come out and people are in it for a hot minute for a year, then leave. And yeah, I don't know. I'm part of it. I think you are too. Like I invest
Yeah.
in new TCGs. It's fun. It's great, dude. The best feeling in the world is when you buy just some random game and you can like double your money or triple your money within like a year.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
because I hate
I've
selling Flesh
made
and Blood
great money
cards.
off of investing in Kickstarter TCGs or up and coming TCGs. It's paid for a good amount of my high end collection, or at least a couple pieces of my high end collection. So I've got no complaints about it. If people get into it, they love it, and they're having fun with it. God bless, enjoy the game. I
Yeah.
think we put our investment and our time to what we love, which is
Mm.
Flesh and Blood. And if it's okay to dabble in other games. I played a little bit of Sorcery. I opened a bunch of packs. I enjoyed it for a little bit, decided it wasn't for me, and I moved on.
Yeah.
Um, I got into Grand Archive. I doinked around with it. I sold most of it sealed. It is what it is.
Yeah. And it's good to really like evaluate games. I think you're pretty good at that. Like you and I feel like when a new TCG or like if we're talking about a random TCG, I'll ping you, you'll ping me like, hey, like what do you think of this? And like we were talking about Altered, like they're doing some really interesting things. Like, do I think that they're gonna last and stand the test of time over like a year or two? Not really. I don't think their business model is very there to where it's going to be sustainable, especially with like it seems like it's a pretty big like money and developing team behind it, like the operating
Yeah.
expense, and not only that, but the server costs and the maintenance of all of the databases and everything seem pretty logistically expensive. I mean, can it succeed? Am I blowing hot air? Sure, like it could, but I don't know about you. I'm probably back in the Kickstarter for I don't know how many boxes. When it comes out, selling into the hype, and then
Yeah.
kind of going from there.
See, the thing about Alter to me is like it's either going to be wildly successful or wildly unsuccessful. But regardless of whether which is going to happen, whether it's wildly successful or wildly unsuccessful, you're going to have a period of hype where I think you're going to have an opportunity to sell into it and then take some gains. I think there are a lot of positives to Altered. There's a lot of money behind Altered.
Yeah,
they have an established team
their
of people
website
that
looks really good.
yeah, I mean, their website's really good. They're actually a legitimate business. Um, the team, they've made critically acclaimed board games like Dixit. The game actually, I've played the game. The game plays very well. It's very simple. It's very easy to get into. I mean, we we mostly talk to a fab based community, so the art is probably not going to appeal to your typical fab fan. But like when I evaluate things, I go more beyond just my typical echo chamber of fab friends. I have friends
Agreed.
who are into Pokemon. I have friends who are into Magic. I have friends who are into other things. I put this shit in front of them, like, yo, what do you think about this?
Hmm.
And they'll tell me what they think, and then they might end up kickstarting a box or two and checking it out, or they tell me it's dog shit, and then they go on. You know, a lot of the people I talk to who are like casual, either Pokemon fans or Magic fans, they seem to really like the art. They seem to like this game style and vibe. I put it in front of a couple of friends who are like big board game fans, and they seem to really like how it plays based off of some of the things that they've watched and I've
Hmm.
shown them. And then like what's interesting about it is kind of how their Kickstarter rewards work in conjunction with their system. So like inherently, whenever the first base that comes out to retail, the Kickstarter box is based off of the increased rarity, the exclusive cards, and the increased spoiler rate are going to make the Kickstarter boxes exponentially more desirable than the base boxes. So
And
I
that's
mean,
what
it's
was
like
hilarious to me. Like literally, they say, "Hey, the more money we get, the more juiced the boxes will be." It's just an odd way of going about it, but I see it because literally they don't have to increase the printing costs at all. They're just
right.
changing the collation, so they're putting more value in the Kickstarter boxes without really, you know, tweaking it. I see it. It's kind of a weird concept when you first like the palette, but it's smart.
Yeah, no,
I see where
I
they're
think it's
going.
very smart. It doesn't necessarily cost them anything because it's February right now, and they're probably just um or soon probably have to submit things, and then they'll get it printed if for distribution in July. So I mean, I don't know the exact supply chain logistics of how Carter Monday is going to print things out, but I'm assuming the way that they're working things is that they'll have a little bit of leeway. So they've kind of figured out how they're going to have the print sheets worked out. They'll submit them, they'll print it out, and they'll blah 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 blah, and we'll get our product in July. But I think it'll be really interesting. The most interesting thing to me about this is the controversy about the printing model. So the QR codes and the printing of the
Oh, there's a
um,
controversy.
a little bit because on one hand you have the QR codes, right? So
Mhm.
on the cards. So say
Which
for
looks horrible,
example,
right? Like,
yeah.
whoa, look at this
So
card. That's a
yeah. So
QR
first
code.
off, there's people who don't want to fucking look at the QR codes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you watched Team Covenant or not,
Nah.
but Zach from Team Covenant was blatant, and he said it in a much more politically correct way than about to say it. But he basically said, "I don't want to fucking look at these things."
It's true.
Yeah, no, it's
I'm not at
true. But
Walmart.
like,
Like, I'm not buying a
yeah,
fucking candy bar. Like, what the hell is this?
yeah. So it's like you scan it into your shit, right, and then eventually you can print it out. So I asked a couple LGSs that I know and I talked to, and I kind of talked to them about the QR code, and both of their responses, and this is granted a very small sample size. It's like if they can print the card, why the fuck do I want to carry this to my store? Why aren't you just going to buy more packs?
Yeah,
You
it's
lose
true.
your card, fuck you, buy more packs. And that they didn't say it like that, but like that's kind of their attitude because it's like like you lose a flesh and blood card. say you lose a warmonger's diplomacy, or your warmonger's diplomacy gets damaged and you're in the middle of a tournament, what's the judge going to say to you? Hey, your card's marked. You need to go to, Magnolia or Min-Max or whatever, and you need to buy a new one and replace it, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, you rip your packs, scan your cards. Oh darn, my warmonger's diplomacy is scuffed. I'm gonna get one printed for $1, and then they're gonna charge me shipping, and I'm gonna have a new warmonger's diplomacy.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd take a month to ship to you or something.
Yeah, it will take a little while to ship to you. But there's like some interesting concepts for adaptation that I don't think people are really looking into, especially people who are negative about the game, which is about say you're an LGS, and say you buy like the whale of the LGS package or whatever. You can, in theory, get all those that big package, rip every single box. You could then have one of every card, print a whole shitload of them, have play sets upon play sets of everything for your store, sell the rest you don't want to keep for the digital rights on the marketplace, and then push adoption, like, hey, and run it like an LCG. And then when you get the actual product to sell, you'd be like, hey, now that the product is out, you can get your own cards and your own copies and try to pull the uniques. And if people get into the game because you give them that cheap free entryway and they actually like the game, it's like an interesting concept to try to onboard people. It's not something that's been done before.
I never thought about that. So, just to kind of give context, so altered TCGs, it seems like they're attempting to revolutionize the trading card and game industry by having a pseudo type of, online and in-person type of card. So you pull it from a booster box, it has a QR code, you have a phone and an app with an account, you link it to your phone, and this is like a unique QR code on every single card, and you literally put that on your phone, and then that digital copy is the real kind of copy of the card. So you can print it at any time from Card of Monday through the app, say, hey, print like 5 of this card, and it ships directly to you, and it's $1 per card. And what's cool, I think, about it is it's like, when you do that, I believe the company, or when you sell cards, they make some revenue on the sale, which is pretty interesting. And you can sell the cards that you own in your app. Like let's say you have 50 different altered cards like this in your phone. You can sell it on the marketplace instantly, and you don't have to ship the cards to someone else. When they buy it, they literally own it now, and they can print it whenever they want. So what you're saying is something very interesting. Like, basically, I buy altered, right? I buy, a case full of cards. I don't need these physical copies anymore. They're all digitized on my account that I sell on my account. So this is like marketing material. You could just give this out to the people in your store for free. They don't own the cards on their app, but they can at least play with the cards and, try it out and play the game. So this is more of this becomes like marketing material in a way.
Exactly.
I didn't think about that because honestly, dude, and let me kind of preface this as well. Like, I don't believe in the longevity of the game. I think something's, I like what they're attempting. It's kind of like someone is on in a motorcycle and they're trying to jump a cliff. Like, I applaud them for their efforts, but I don't think they're going to scale the cliff. But, what I was thinking of is why even print booster boxes to begin with? In my opinion, they should just have all of these digital booster boxes, just like Hearthstone, and then sell them to booster box keys to LGSs for $20 a box, and then they can sell them for $50 a box, and then you have a smaller version and then a collector's version or something. But I think the printing costs are what's going to eat them alive. Because the initial printing of the cards, dude, the laser jet printing, it's going to be pretty expensive, I think.
It probably will be. Here's the other counter argument I heard, from a game store perspective. Yeah. So set aside the printing costs, say the printing costs are going to be fixed. So say it's going to cost them $2 a card to print. Mm-hmm. So if you're they could make the pricing where if you're an individual, you pay $5 to print it plus shipping to get it back. And say you print 5 cards, it's going to cost you $50 or 10 cards. It's going to cost you $50 plus shipping to get those things printed and sent back to you. But if you go to your LGS and it's only $3 at your LGS, and it only costs the LGS $3, that's their incentive to keep the game going because if they can take a cut and then they get to save on shipping, they can pass a little bit of that savings on to the customer because they're not just going to get eaten alive because they can bulk submit. Think about how, like with grading, how there are game shops that are either affiliated with PSA or BGS and they do bulk submissions. And not only are they going to get bulk pricing for the submissions, they can ship it all at once and then they get it back. So they get it back quicker and they don't have to pay shipping on those little orders. So you get a better experience, going through a store sometimes. I know some of the stores aren't all the same, but it could be a potential revenue generator in lieu of selling the singles for the store.
But that sounds like a nightmare for a store. Are you saying like if a store has like 30 of these barraging Bronhites, each of these have a different QR code, so they'd have to like sift through a stack of 30 of these, find the specific one that links to the specific QR code, right?
I mean, possibly, but like there could be a way where if like a player owns the digital rights, you could loan the digital rights to the store. The store would send it through their queue. The store would just get your order, and then you would pick up your order at the local game store, and then your local game store would be able to take a cut of that.
Actually, you know what? I think I'm wrong. I think when they do the deck checks, they just want to make sure that you have at least 3 of those copies of that card. Yeah. It doesn't have to match the QR code. I could see that. Yeah, there's some business model there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, it's aggressive. I'm not gonna lie. There's a higher probability, in my opinion, that this is going to fail than it succeeds. But like, this is one of those things where even if it's going to fail and it looks like it's going to fail, like a good example of that is like Nostalgic.
Oh, Nostalgics.
So Nostalgics, you had a period of a window where you could have doubled your money and even triple or quadrupled your money if you got into the prototypes.
I missed it.
I held too long.
Me too.
I'll fully admit that. I'll fully admit to that. I still own a prototype, the super rare Evangeline. It's one of the biggest hits. And at the peak, it was selling for like $750, $1,000. And I'm like, this just going to the moon because of this big Pokemon creators behind it. And I was a Timmy and I held. But
I did too. Well, and the gameplay of that one was ass, right? Like it just looked way too complicated.
Yeah, it was ass. But there's that period. You still have that period of window where you could have made good money on Nostalgics.
Yep.
And Nostalgics, flopped. But let's just say hypothetically it doesn't flop. Let's say there's enough backing behind it where it becomes a Grand Archive. The Grand Archive boxes tripled from your Kickstarter price.
Yeah,
and they still remain at $300, $350 for the Kickstarter boxes. And these, and granted, these are 129 euros a piece. So call it like 150. Like $450 for a super juice box relative to the base set, is that too far fetched? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But if it becomes wildly successful, and I know they have big companies behind it, Asmodee, GameGenix is a partner. So we'll see if it can get pushed to the marketplace. And we'll see if stores adopt it and stores are willing to push it. And
yeah, I'm definitely waffling between how deep I should go on that one. It does seem, because man, with sorcery, I wish I went deeper. Like I did pretty well. I did pretty well on the alpha boxes, but and it did take, I think, a little bit over a year to finally get the fucking things. But they did great. I mean, I think you do the Rudy hype really just, oh man.
Well, I don't think there will be Rudy hype for this Altered, but I think at this point, based off of where the Kickstarter trajectory is, I don't really think it needs the Rudy hype.
Oh no.
If you look at the breakdown between the Kickstarter tier levels, there's a lot of people who are pledged at the 149 euro level, which seems to me to be an indicator that there's a lot of people actually interested in playing the game, which bodes well, in my opinion, for well, I should say, it increases the chances from a complete shot in the dark to maybe this has a fighting chance to actually be played and adopted. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Right? It's not just everyone, all a bunch of whales piling into the 5,000 euro tier.
Oh, for sure. And the gameplay for that one, it's pretty decent. I think it's like Gwent, but like with, 5 or 10 plus or minus, brain cells behind it. Like it's kind of like that Marvel Stap kind of, you have the fields of like, you have to win certain things on both sides.
Yep.
I think power creep is going to be a massive issue. I think certain old of those ones that have randomized stats, I think you're going to get some of them that are just way better than the others. So I think that'll
Yeah.
be a thing. But uh,
So
it's definitely
yeah.
they're definitely trying to do something big. And like you said, versus other TCGs and such, they don't really need any like hyper stuff as much around it because of the people behind it already, right? You have Asmodee, like you said, and a couple other like really big players behind it. So it definitely seems like they can say solvent for as long as the people backing it, want to
Yeah.
really push it.
Here's another super hot take. So, Altered, backed by Asmodee, as we were talking. Another prominent new game is backed by Asmodee, Star Wars Unlimited.
Ooh,
So,
not
Fantasy
that's
Flight Games, which makes Star Wars Unlimited, is owned by Asmodee.
uh-huh. Oh,
So,
really?
and the games don't play exactly the same, but there are some similarities, a little bit of similarities in the gameplay between them. I'm willing to bet that only one of the two games will survive between the two. I think Asmodee will pull the plug on one of the two games.
Here's the thing that I really am just so cringy about Star Wars Unlimited, right? The gameplay, I haven't played it. It looks pretty solid. But there was Star Wars Destiny that came out literally like 6 or 8 years
Yep.
ago. Fantasy Flight Games, the same as Star Wars Unlimited. They
Yep.
lasted 2 to 3 years. They were doing pretty fucking good. They held a tournament. They, one of the final tournaments. They had a lot of people interested. A lot of people were buying the game. A lot of investors and such like that. And it was a solid community. And then all of a sudden, literally out of fucking nowhere, they literally pulled the plug and said, "Okay, we're not doing this." Like because
Rugfall.
they didn't want to renew the license. And I think that's the same thing that's going to happen here, man. Like
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight Games doesn't own the license. This game eventually is going to get pulled, like rug pulled, I feel, because like the I think Disney owns it, right? So they'll eventually say, "Oh, you're making some good money over there. We want our licensing fee to be higher." And then they're gonna be like, "Well, can't do that." And, well,
Yeah,
stop
right.
doing the
So I
game.
think it's going to be a business decision, right? So,
Yeah.
if Altered is doing better than Star Wars, I think it's easy to say no. If Star Wars Unlimited is doing better than Altered, I think it becomes a different conversation where how much better is Star Wars doing? How much more is Disney asking? And then they have a business decision to make. So I think that's something to be aware of, whether you're investing in Altered or whether you're investing in Star Wars Unlimited. That's something you have to keep in mind. That the genesis of the big parent company is still Asmodee, right?
Yeah.
It still flows to the same group, even though FFG and Equinox are two separate entities. They're still owned by the same parent, you know. But then, who knows what Disney's going to do with Star Wars? They could just say, we're going to triple the licensing fee and we're going to make Lorcana Star Wars edition,
Yep. And
and
then it's
that
like,
completely change the TCG landscape.
yeah, and when they do that, then it's like if they triple the licensing fee, that might not be equitable for Asmodee anymore, so they just pull the plug, and that kind of pisses me off with a lot of these types of games. And I'm not saying that game is bad. Like the gameplay is probably pretty solid. Like I've heard good things about Star Wars Unlimited. Like I think it's pretty solid. It sounds like it has a lot of aspects from Destiny, but when I see that it's literally by Fantasy Flight Games who did this in like literally 6 years ago, it just makes me think that these big companies out there have this time horizon and they view all these trading card games more as like toys instead of like a community and what it really bursts out there and trying to build something that has longevity. They like more it's like planned obsolescence in a way, right? And that kind of scares me in a way. It's it really just shifts my mindset because a lot of times you think, okay, these why build a trading card game if you plan for it to fail eventually? But I guess they just make so much money in like maybe a 3 or 4 year time horizon that it just makes sense to do that. And then when the game feels overprinted, they're just like, well, okay, wipe our hands with it and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like what Asmodee is trying to do. I think did they also run and manage Keyforge?
I forget. Oh,
Well,
Fantasy Flight did, yeah.
yeah, Fantasy Flight did. And it seems like from what I've heard and from what I've talked to other people about, is they seem to be taking like nuggets and lessons learned from all their past games and putting it into their current games. So it's like they're trying to like iterate and grow based off experience to finally find that one killer game that can kind of push it up. And
Yeah,
it's just
fair.
like it seems that to me, looking as an outsider looking in, that's how I interpret the situation between the games. So it'll be a really interesting space over the next 12 months to see where we land, see what of these games are going to survive, whether it's going to be Star Wars or whether it's going to be Altered or whether it's going to be Nom Nom Verse.
You can't make this shit up, can you? Like nom nom
No,
verse.
I
Like,
can't make this shit up, man.
dude, did you see their like intro? Like, it was like,
No.
dude, the nom nom verse intro video is just like ridiculous. It just, oh man, it is wild. It's just like,
I'll check it out. I thought honestly when someone said Nom Nom Verse to me, I honestly thought it was legitimately a joke until I found out it wasn't a joke, and then it became that much funnier.
yeah, right. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just wild. You wonder if there's a way where these individuals out there can get like cool stuff that is, well, in their eyes, cool, drawn from the artists, but in some other form than a card game that's really not a game at all. It's just, art. You know what I mean? Like, is there another medium that these people can have other than a card game that's not a card game?
I don't know. So like here's the thing about like MetaZoo and like the MetaZoo art, which from what I understand with Nom Nom Verse is like the MetaZoo
Yeah.
artists went to Nom Nom Verse, and I kind of understand from what I understand about MetaZoo is they tried to recreate like some of the early days of Pokemon and that style of art.
Yeah,
But
it's
like
Fakeamon called Ken Sugimori artwork. Fakeamon, yep.
yeah, so it's like is a card game really the best medium for that? Or should you actually have just put your time into creating like a really good manga or a really good webtoon or something of that nature? I probably think that a card game probably isn't the best thing for them to do, but that's my opinion.
Well, maybe
I
it's
do
that
appreciate
thing.
the art, though. I know a lot of people hated the Mezu art. I do appreciate the art to an extent, though.
I like some of it. Some of it's all right in my opinion. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore because like back in the day, I loved Pokemon artwork, uh, but other stuff. I think for Cryptid Nation, like I think at least 10% of that set was just like royalty free like images
Yeah.
that they got and tweaked. But man, that whole thing recently where that's just gone up in flames has just been crazy. Like what do you think? Do you think that there's going to be investigations in the future? Because I mean, they said they were making 50 million in revenue over the course of what 3 years. Where it all, and
So,
of course, revenue is revenue, but net income is probably around the $10 to $20 million range, maybe more. But where'd it all go?
So here's what I'm going to say about this. So a little bit about me. I come from a background of management consulting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that appealed to me from being like a big format and big four management consulting is like people have like business jargon and business terms, and they talk a certain way. And usually that's an indicator of one of two things. If you test the person, you're going to find out that the person really knows what they're fucking talking about and they're really competent people, or they're a fucking grifter. And Mike Waddell is a grifter. He talked so much garbage. And I knew he was talking garbage around the wilderness time when he was talking about all the different product verticals that he was doing. Got like,
The verticals.
You got the trading cards, the skateboards, the T-shirts, the playing cards, the pins. No, you don't know product segmentation. You don't know shit. It's all one vertical: merchandise and your core vertical, which is trading cards. You have two verticals. It's all you have. And I'm like, this guy is full of shit. And I'm like, this guy is just talking jargon to win people over. And I'm like, this is when I know that like this guy's not good.
The thing that really irritated me way back in the day, he had an interview with someone, and they said a very, very simple question: what is your target market for MetaZoo? And he said, well, I think everyone is part of our target market. Like, MetaZoo is for everyone. And it's just like, come on, dude. Like, you need to pick a lane. Like, are you going to go more competitive, or are you going to go casual? Like, are you going to do, like, adults, or is this children? Like, if you have a card that literally says you can't play it unless your pants are off, like, you probably need a certain demographics so you don't have odd situations. But beyond that, it's just like there's so many things. Honestly, though, I think Mike Waddell just got over his head. I think Steve Aoki pushed a lot of the product verticals and the collaborations and such like that. And honestly, it probably was making them a fuck ton of money. The company overall, but that just begs the question, like, if all these verticals were making like money hand over fist, and they were profiting off of the secondary market, or pretty much the secondary market, because they wouldn't sell into the primary market like at cost. Like, they would put a premium on their shit and then sell it to people, and people would still buy it. So I mean, their margins must have been pretty high. It just makes you wonder now, after the fact, like, where's the money? And the thing that I think hasn't really materialized is if there is more blowback in the future, like, throughout 2024, I wonder how many people who, peddled MetaZoo are really going to become under fire. Like, hey, like, the MetaZoo gameplay is just terrible. Like, it has things here or there, but literally, like, it's got so many problems with the mana screw issue, big issue there. The power creep is terrible. Like, some cards are just ridiculous. Some are, just, dog shit. You've got so many issues where, like, one person, if they have a head start and they, have their creatures on the field and the other person doesn't, there's no way to come back. Whereas in, like, Flesh and Blood, you have Bravo come in with a crippling crush. Yeah, you lose your hand, you lose a couple turns, but you can inch back into the game. MetaZoo, you don't have that at all. It's just like, but you had all these, like, people online saying, oh, look, here's how you play MetaZoo, here's how you play it, oh, look at the gameplay. But nobody was really consistently saying, hey, no, this game sucks, right? It was, and if you did say that, it was more of a, oh, you're just a Flesh and Blood person. So gameplay is subjective. And I've been on that rant for a while, but I think it's the biggest problem in the industry is nobody really can evaluate good gameplay, or the general public can. I know you can. I've been talking to you for a bit, and usually you and I have a similar vibe on games, but...
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that people wanted to admit that the gameplay was garbage.
Yes.
So, like, I think one of the challenges with MetaZoo is they put the cart before the horse. So, like, you look at this year, James White made a big announcement that organized play was going to have a total prize valuation of 1.5 million US dollars, right?
Yep.
Well, the first fucking MetaZoo Pro circuit had the same valuation.
Dude,
Just like
yeah.
think about that for a second. Let that sink in. So you got these fuckers who are taking off their pants to win $1.5 million. They're doing all this crazy fourth wall shit to try to win $1.5 million part of $1.5 million. So they got like the cart before the horse, I think. And like, who's gonna say that the gameplay is bad when there's a total prize pool of $1.5 million on the line?
Did you hear about the guy who won one of the big tournaments early on? He won it, and it was his birthday, and a card interacted and said, if it's your birthday, you get like this extra benefit. And like, that's not the main reason why he won. He's played MetaZoo a shitload, but it's just funny how like, yeah, you have that kind of stuff when money's on the line. It was his birthday, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it goes back to target market, right? It's what are you catering to? Is it the competitive players or the fourth wall players? And just like MetaZoo was always trying to just cater to everyone, and it never tried to like have its own thing. And I think when you try to appease everyone, you ultimately please no one, and then you rug pull everyone apparently. But I don't know. I'm kind of still on the fence. I'd like to know a little bit more internally. Like, it'd be cool to hear Mike Waddell speak up and hear what's going on. I'm sure he can because of legal stuff. And then Steve Aoki, I think, owns at least 30%, if not more, of MetaZoo. And I think his name isn't talked about as much. But I remember asking Mike Waddell in a chat at one of those MetaZoo minutes thing a long time ago. I was like, hey, how much does Steve Aoki own? And he said it will be released when they do their IP or the what is it? No, not the IP. What's when the stock goes public? IPO. Yeah, he said when they IPO, they'll release that. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
Dude, so like, I've looked into Steve Aoki's previous business ventures, and I'm just gonna say that I like EDM. I like Steve Aoki's music, but there is nothing that's more of a top signal for a company than Steve Aoki investing.
Oh, it's just like, not like it goes to shit eventually.
Yeah. He's not a good omen for your business ventures if you're partnering with Steve Aoki.
Did you hear about the Pawn Stars episode? Apparently, King Pokemon was talking about it.
Dude, so that's a really interesting scenario. So I heard that King Pokemon was going to go on with Mike, and then the whole thing happened where Mike gets pushed out of MetaZoo, and MetaZoo's ceasing operations, and now Gary King Pokemon is going to go on alone without Mike Waddell, and we'll see if the episode even airs.
I hope it does, dude.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing is King Pokemon is in bed with Steve Aoki.
Of course.
So it's like a big chill bromance thing. And I'd be interested to see if there ever is a lawsuit against, Mike Waddell. Do they bring Gary King Pokemon into that thing as well? I have some friends who are Pokemon fans and they want to go to Collecticon. I kind of want to go to Collecticon just to see if there's actually any presence or any mention of MetaZoo at all.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet a lot of people. It's a fun thing to watch with a car fire, right? And it is a shame. It did seem like, the content creators in that space. I talked to a bunch during like Discord, and they're nice people. They like the game, or they liked being involved in a community, like I like in Flesh and Blood, and they're pretty cool people for the most part. But it does seem like a lot of the opinions about the gameplay were withheld until things were bad, and then it's like, oh yeah, the game kind of sucks. And that's what I think is a whole shame of this, is probably a lot of people got into the game because they looked at certain YouTubers out there and like, oh well, if that person is talking about the game, it must be a quality product, when in reality it's just like, no. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a sad situation. I feel bad for the people who actually legitimately love the game. Like shoutouts to the
Agreed.
Lion,
Tote gang.
yeah, they legitimately loved the game. They enjoyed collecting the game. They enjoyed buying and purchasing the game. But yeah, it's just a sad one.
It for sure is. What other Kickstarter games have been? Oh, Sorcery is the big thing I'm wondering about now too. I mean, what happens when Arthurian Legends come out? Like, what's your take on Sorcery? Like, is the hype train still choo-chooing when that comes out,
So,
or?
well, I think it will for at least one more set, and I know that I will probably be in on the next set. I don't think it's going to print as hard as Alpha printed. I think it will also, but it will do better than Beta.
Mhm.
I think that there's going to be a good amount of hype around Arthurian Legends. I think that's the name of it. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a pretty good amount of hype around it, especially considering that there's a good amount of momentum carrying into the game, even with the second printing of beta. What I do worry about though is Sorcery's ability to deliver. If
Mm,
that's delayed more than like 3 to 6 months, I'd probably be concerned about the game. Um,
that's a good
and I
take.
think that they probably need to scale up. They probably need to have like people who are adept at procuring art and bringing the art into the game and having a system to bring art into the game that matches the theme of the set that they're trying to release so they can have quicker speed to market. Because I think the 1 year set, one set a year thing is a bit aggressive, and I think from a gameplay perspective, you have risk of people kind of getting bored of things. But and I understand like if you're going to try to go and get the top tier art from well known fantasy artists like Frank Frazetta, that's
Hmm.
not something you can just snap your fingers and then it's done.
Get it?
But like
Well, I think
um,
isn't he dead? So you have to go through the estate.
well, you have to go through the rights of negotiation with his estate, right, or
Yeah.
the people who own the rights to his work. Um, But like procuring the artists and the right art, I understand that it takes time, but like they can't afford to, like, if we're gonna do once a year, they can't really afford to be late, in my opinion, on the next set.
I totally agree. I mean, the first set was absolutely bonkers. I think they were maybe 8 months to a year late from
Yeah,
their initial estimates. Was just like it was a slog fest to finally, get it out. I've had the same opinion about Sorcery for a while. Like, I think that Sorcery, first and foremost, versus MetaZoo, they know their target market. Old MTG, enthusiasts who like the old MTG art. Perfect, right? Their gameplay is all right. I haven't played tested. Have you tested their game as much?
I've
Like,
played I've
there's
played one in-person game of sorcery with a friend,
yeah,
and it was okay. It
yeah.
kind of dragged a little bit. Um,
It seems like
I'm
there's
gonna
too
give it a
much
shot
to
again.
a solid what?
I said I'm gonna give it a shot again when the next set comes out. It was like I enjoyed it because I was playing with an old like high school friend, but
Mm-hmm.
like it wasn't like memorable or anything.
Yeah, I think the whole verbiage around what it is like, oh, you have a story, like the game tells a story.
Yeah,
I think that that's kind of bullshit. Like, I don't see any stories being told with any of these games. I do think that there's a strategic element, and the board and the grid, it seems interesting, but I think it just leads to play patterns where you can do some janky thing to make your opponent not do something, and you do something to where, you just get an advantage through kind of weird kind of situations. And yeah, I just don't think it's 100% there, but I do like the groundwork that they laid. But overall, I think, man, it's a art platform. Like, if I was Sorcery right now, if I was Eric, I'd literally like put a casting call for any aspiring
yep,
watercolored oil painting artists that are not known at all, and say, hey, you want to sell a painting to me? you want to get into this art platform. Okay, your paintings normally sell for what, $300 a pop? Well, we can sell them on our platform of sorcery. If we put it in an artwork in a card, you can probably sell that oil painting you have, instead of $300, you can sell it for like $3,000, $4,000. We want a cut of that. So, I think that that's a perfect way to acquire a ton of art now, where they just get a bunch of new blood, right? And I like the platform that they did. They had like Frank Frazetta, like you said, and man, it's killing me. They have a bunch of OG Magic the Gathering artists, like that
Melissa
they did with
Benson.
all, yeah, Melissa Benson, and just like a bunch. I wish I could remember them. But anyway, they created a good platform. Now it's time to get a bunch of new blood. And I think they had a
Yeah,
couple of new people. I forgot their names, but like brand new artists, and people like love their artwork and want to pay like a huge premium. So I think
yeah.
that the way to make that game profitable is short print the boxes and get a piece of the revenue for the artwork sales, and to acquire the IP of every set after alpha. Because currently they literally own like no IP, no intellectual property,
Right.
none of the artwork in their sets they own. So from a trading card game perspective, that's scary as hell. Because it's like you literally shelled out all this money for this art that you don't even own. It's very strange. Whereas Flesh and Blood, they commissioned the artwork for all this, and they own all the digital artwork.
Yeah.
So I think Sorcery could literally own the IP of the artwork and sell the painting to people out there in the community, and that's the business model that works. I think. My
They
bad.
absolutely could. Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
no, they
I'm
absolutely
rambling.
could. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I wanna take this opportunity to introduce a segue. I don't think this has been discussed on any Flesh and Blood podcast before. This might be a scoop for the one and only Bronson. So I
Scoop.
was at the Calling Hartford, and
Yes.
I was speaking to a prominent Magic the Gathering artist. So you may recognize some of these prints. So I think this this one,
Yo, that looks hot. That's Magic the Gathering. I forgot which one that was.
Warplane.
What is it?
This is one of my favorites of all time, Avatar of
Oh,
Woe.
dude, that is
And then
sick.
this is Lightning Angel. So this artist is
You got all
RK
of
Post.
those?
Yeah,
That looks
these are from
sick.
the Magic the Gathering artist RK Post. And I asked him like, hey, you ever have any interest in doing artwork for Flesh and Blood? And I
Uh
was
huh.
thinking about like this print in particular. I'm like, yo, we got this Runeblade set coming up. It would be sick if you did some prints. And he's like, I know all the people involved in Flesh and the Blood art. I'm serious. I'm deeply involved in Magic the Gathering art, and they've got really tight timelines. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, I want to get into Flesh and the Blood art, and I know who to reach out to and contact when I'm ready to do it. So
Oh, that would be
RK Post,
sick.
I know there are a lot of people who like, some of the art in Flesh and Blood. My former Magic the Gathering artist, like, what was like, I had a little bit too much to drink. I kicked that rest of that bottle of goose. But
Oh
who
yeah,
did
same.
the Plague Hive art? What was his name? I've got his artist group. I should know.
Plague Hive. I have no idea.
And Home of Harvests and Channel Thunderstep.
I have no idea. RK Post came back to me though. I remember I've collected a bunch of signed cards for Magic the Gathering a while ago, and that's cool. You met him in person.
Yeah, no, I talked to him. Really nice guy, and he wants to do Flesh and Blood eventually. So I mean,
That's
that would
awesome.
fit in with some of the themes of like coming up. Like imagine, like again, going back to Avatar, Bronson is one of my favorite prints. Imagine like shit like this with like in a demonastery set. Like
That would be so cool.
that would be dope. That would be dope.
And you probably will have like a couple of them, like depending. Well, but I guess when they're so entrenched into Magic still, they probably are getting pretty good deals and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. He was telling me about the aggressive, tight timelines of the like turnaround cards and all that stuff. Kind of like what it's like to be an artist, and it's talking about like some of the nuances about like working for like Wizards of the Coast versus like
Hmm.
working with like Flesh and Blood. And Flesh and Blood is like more meticulous, but you have a longer timeline. Whereas the Magic the Gathering is like grind, 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 grind. The timeline, the timeline, the timeline. Or Flesh and Blood's like, you'll submit your artwork and they'll be like, oh, well, we want you to change this. Next, you're going to ask you to make a resubmission to make sure that like your art fits the theme of the card the way they want it to theme, to fit the theme, to match the card or to match the set. So that shows, based on what RK was telling me, that like LSS puts a lot of time into the thought and the design of their artwork. And as a collector, that made me feel really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and have you seen those artists? I think it's the art team from Legend Story Studios, which is probably Robbie Wen and MJ Fatesio. They send the artists like 4 different images of like, hey, I want make the card either this, or this. Like different scenes. Have you seen that?
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it seems like they have like, oh, these are like ideas of what to draw, but you don't have to draw this specific thing. Just like here's 4 different options for you to pick. But yeah, that does really help a lot because there is something weird when you have a set of cards and then there's like 4 of them that just don't seem to fit.
Yeah, it's what was that? Like you look at heavy hitters, right? You look at like the theme of like the brute cards, and they all seem to like work together, match together, even though they're different artists. And then like remember you see the Team Covenant promo for that one card, and it looks like a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh monster.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, this stuff is good. And I know that art is pretty polarizing. From what I've heard, some people absolutely love it, and then boomers like me absolutely hate it. But like that's like one of those things where LSS probably like, this is gonna be a promo card.
Yeah, that one was a little bit on the fence. Like I know art is subjective a little bit, but that one it just didn't feel like it was part of like the rest of the type of cards. Like I think one that sticks out to me like Timekeeper's Whim or something, and then like Rewind. There's just like the artwork just is a little bit different from the rest of the cards, and it kind of throws it off a little bit. But I mean, generally speaking, the way all the cards are like positioned around one another, they flow very well. Because dude, when like you're a set collector, like you want to flip through a binder and it all seems like cohesive. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, no man, no.
I mean, what do you think? So, the rest of the year for Flesh and Blood, I guess we have 2 more sets. I guess if PvE isn't coming out, like, do you think we're gonna go into Mysteria next?
I think we're gonna get the All Arcane set first.
Oh yeah,
and then
that's a hot take.
Mysteria.
Okay. Where would the arcane set be? Because like there's Mysteria, there's only a certain amount of regions we haven't visited yet. Savage Lands, Mysteria, Demonastery, and let's see, Savage Lands, Mysteria, Demonastery. I think those 3, right? Yeah, I'm looking at the card back.
I mean, logically, if you're talking about arcane, it would probably be Demonastery. But if you think about that, would that make sense? I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it would probably have to be Demonastery. I guess that would probably be the All Arcane set. You get a whole bunch of Wizard support. You get a whole bunch of Runeblade support. That would make sense to me. And then you go to Mysteria next.
That makes sense.
You'd probably have something else random in 2025. You'd have Savage Lands again to give Group more support. And then you'd eventually have Monarch 3. And that would close out the Monarch trilogy and hopefully make Mr. Michael Lamar really happy.
Right, and selling all the Monarch bags. I mean, that's a really good topic too. The what was the I don't think it was an interview. It was an article that said that Dusk Till Dawn and Monarch, and then there's one more set that deals with Light and Dark, and that's gonna like close out the whole trilogy.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think there's something that said like there's gonna be like a ton of classes in that one, right?
I don't remember hearing that, but I do know that there's supposed to be a third for the Monarch trilogy to end. So I don't know if there's going to be additional classes, but hey, that'd be super cool. Give me like a paladin or something.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I think if I had to predict, I think we're gonna have two Mysteria and then two Savage Lands. Because I think before we had Tales of Aria and Everfest, which was Aria. Then you had Uprising and Dynasty, which is Volcor. And then I think that Metrics and what is it, the Pits are like right next to each other. So those were two sets as well. So I think we're gonna have two sets in Mysteria, two sets in Savage Lands, and then one in Demonastery that's like kind of maybe a Dawn Till Dusk set that
Okay.
closes out the
Okay.
Monarch. That's my prediction. But the heavy hitters really threw me off. I didn't think we'd be in like a what is it like like I think that's around here, right? That they said like the
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you never know what they're going to do. I think what they're trying to do is like I think they're trying to make a careful balance to make sure that the metagame is make whatever set they release next that makes sense for the metagame, makes sense for the players to make them happy, but still
Mm.
fits in the lore. And then they're trying to be kind of like Jerome Powell with a dual mandate, where he wants to keep unemployment low and he wants to keep the markets propped and all that stuff. So, he's got to keep the players happy and the collectors happy. So he's got a tough job. So we'll see kind of, how heavy hitters shakes out. We'll see where they go next.
Yeah, no, definitely a tough job. I mean, balancing the whole collectability and playability of a trading card game definitely doesn't seem like the easiest thing to do, and it's tough because they're more of like counter opposites. Like to make
Mm-hmm.
something collectible, you make a low supply of it, but then that means not that many people can play your game, so you have to make certain stuff special, but also have like less and less flashy versions of the same card so that people can play it. But let's what about your collection goals, man? Like any big collection goals other than the Angels?
Yeah, so the Angels and the collection goal. Right now, the goal I'm working towards is completing my WTR and Arc First um, cold foil master set.
Nice.
So I've got a deal working for a skull cap, and I'm working on a deal for an eye right now.
Yo,
So
nice.
yeah, so I'm working towards that. So I've got most of the stuff on WTR done. I'm missing Snapdragons and Tectonic Plating and WTR and I are in Heart, of course. And I'm missing most of the cold foils and Arcane Rising still. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm working towards that. What about you, man? You got the 1% of the WTR Alpha. What's your new collecting goal?
I think just set collecting, man. It's WTR and ARC. I got them
Oh, it's
both. So I
okay.
got literally 64,000 cards of each set in like bins all around here. It's nuts. But
Nice.
yeah, no, it's a nice feeling to be done because honestly, like you can't buy those cards anymore. They're like
They're
they're
gone.
gone. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. But I got a bunch of top deck binders. I'm not sponsored or anything. But what's nice about these is I feel they hold two sets each. So I have one for WTR and ARC for first edition. But then I just picked up a couple copies to get a full rainbow foil version of WTR and ARC Unlimited in binder, which is cool.
Okay.
But then I have a bunch of other binders. I have like 8 of these for like all the sets of Flesh and Blood. So I've been trying to like complete
I like
those.
top deck products. I do the
Yeah.
ones that are the 4x3s. So I do
Mm-hmm.
like three non foils and then one rainbow foil.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I do it that way. So it's a little bit different, but I enjoy doing that. And that fits one full set of a full play set of non foils and one of each rainbow foil.
Oh, that's legit. Like one full like you have a binder and you have like one whole set in it.
Yeah.
Nice. It's interesting too. Like a lot of players who play the game usually collect like 3 copies of each card in a binder just in case like they need it for decks in the future. I thought it was kind of interesting. Like players are pretty much set collectors in a way.
Yeah, no, I mean that's kind of like what I'm going for. Is like in case I ever want to play the card, I'll have three of every card, and I don't like playing rainbow foils because of the pringling on the rainbow foils.
Yep.
So I just try to keep the rainbow foils flat if I need to crack out like a humidor or something to like toss a rainbow foil in if I absolutely have to. But I prefer to try to avoid playing with them if possible.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I've heard that from a lot of players. They don't want to play with the rainbow foil because it like I mean, even the deck size, like it just real curls it like when you
Yeah,
have a full deck of something. But yeah. But yeah, other than that, I've just honestly I've been collecting a bunch of majestic or investing, I guess, in a bunch of like 20 and 25 cent majestics just because I think in time like stuff will happen and things will go up in price and like I don't think 25 cent. I don't think like if a booster box has 8 majestics that's worth like $2 for the whole box, you know what I mean? Even if they're bad
yeah,
majestics, but we'll see how it plays out. I have haven't made any money thus far with it, but I'm definitely putting more money into the system. That and like $5 legendaries. Any legendary for $5, I think, is kind of like ridiculous. Um,
yeah. It's steep.
yeah, there would be a day for it, but yeah, but enjoying it, man. I don't know about you, but like back in the day, I felt more of a need of like I need to get this stuff before it dries out with the bulk collecting. But now it's nice that it's like okay, I have a lot of what I want. Things are just now it's just more of like each set comes out and you know do a little bit more at a time. And for heavy hitters too, I'm trying to like hold back and say okay, I do want to set collect this, but I don't need to do it now. Like I can do
Yeah,
this in a year when people are focused on like the 15th set of Flesh and Blood. Just like right now, I'm buying like a bunch of like I said Everfest cards and Tales of Aria and just random cards that I don't have the
mhm.
rainbow foil versions. No one's looking at those cards, so it's perfect time to like pick out ones that are kind of off. So it's good to kind of do that. I think you were talking about that like 2 hours ago, where you saw things in the past that were like really inflated. And you're like, I want this,
Yep.
but I gotta have patience.
Exactly. I mean, patience is the name of the game with collecting in this trading card game. I think. Like you look at the
Yeah.
Marvel dragons, like weren't all the big Marvel majestic dragons like when the set came out for like the first 6 months, were they all like 250? If I remember correctly.
I think so. It was nuts.
Yeah,
I
right.
think
Like
some of the ones that dropped to 15 were like at least 80 or $100 each.
yeah, and now they're like 10, 15, $20. So patience, man. Patience.
Yep.
It's like I'm not a huge like dragon lover, and I still have a couple ones I need to fill in. So it's like now that the price, like I picked up, what was that the majestic one that's not playable, Dracona Optimi.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
there were a couple at like at $60. I'm like, really? This card's $60? I'm like, well, I need one more copy, so I'm just gonna yeet a copy for $60 on TCG Player. Cool. Now I'm good.
Yeah, and especially it's the converse of like I don't know about you. I've been like I opened 3 boxes of heavy hitters. I'm trying to sell cards, even though like okay, I kind of want this for set collecting, but it kind of is at a peak right now. Might as well sell into the hype, and then buy it back later because like I think when
Yeah.
Everfest came out, I pulled a Marvel Starvo, and I was like, "Yo, this is amazing!" I'm like, "I'm gonna hold it on this forever," and I could have sold that card for like 150 $200 easily. And then
Did you
now,
remember when like Chris Sires and all those guys were buying all those Marvel Starvos for like 150, and they just
no, I
kept
didn't.
buying those Starvos because they opened so much product and they realized how rare they were, and
Uh
they
huh.
kept buying them because they realized how rare they were. And then once it came out later that there's like 226,000 boxes. That's like like cue the prices right. When you miss like bum bum bum
Yeah.
you know,
It's
it's
totally
kind of like
that.
a feel bad.
Yeah. Well, that's really like buying, when you're buying something, you got to really think like, hey, like, what is the worst possible scenario for this, and what can happen, and especially because a Starvo living legend, like super fast, so like players aren't going to play him as much, but I guess the living legend format they will, and he'll probably trickle up. But what is he now, like
Yeah.
35, like $50 or $40?
No, I think Star goes up back up. I think he's like up to like $70.
Hey, good for him. It's a beautiful
Yeah, no,
card.
and I saw that when when I was first started playing, I saw Starvo was that expensive. I'm like, oh man, all these guys are buying it, and I'm not like hating on anyone who bought on Starvo, whether it's Chris or any of the other guys who bought a bunch of Starvos. I think Steve bought a whole bunch of Starvos too. I'm like, man, I don't. I'll just play the $2 copy of Starvo because it's way much cheaper, and then maybe someday I'll have an opportunity to buy them lower. And then when Starvo got down to like 35, $40, I bought like 3 copies. So I'm like, fuck it, why not? And now it's
Yeah,
back up to
dude.
70.
I think I bought one at 35 because I was just like, this is too cheap. This is
Yeah,
like dumb. This is crazy. Yeah. And it's a good point you're making. Like, whenever you see people making plays in the market, it's just like sometimes you're like, hey, respect the play. You're pumping money into the system. That money is going to a bunch of other players and local game stores and what have you, and
yeah,
it's feeding the system. But it's what we were talking about earlier. Just patience. Just wait. People don't have too much patience nowadays. It's that whole like buy it now Amazon mentality. You need to have it now, now, now. Just fucking, just wait. Just wait
yeah.
like 6 months. Like, the new set is super hyped now. Just wait. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
my
I mean, it's
philosophy.
I agree. It's generally better to wait, but I do respect the guys who are giving players liquidity. I had a
Yeah.
friend who wanted to move a adult Marvel KO,
Hmm.
and it was a really clean copy. And I like to grade the Marvels, so I'm
Hmm.
like, well, the last sold on TCG Player was 300. You're a friend. I'll give you 300 because I know this is an extremely clean copy.
Hmm.
Please send me high res pictures of it. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll buy it. I submitted, I bought it, paid him the money. He's super happy because now KO is like 280. So if he was trying to sell a third party, maybe he'd get like 250, 240 for it. I gave him 300. I gave him full face value for it. So I paid
Hmm.
him via friends and family. And I get a gradable card, so I don't have to hunt for 500 copies of KO and
Yep.
look through, spend 3 hours making Spencer's life miserable at the Magnolia booth, or Min-Max guys' life miserable looking at all their copies of cards.
Yeah.
Um, I save
And
time. He makes more money, so there's a little bit of value to that. But, if you're buying multiple copies at the top of the market, man, I don't know if that's the right move.
oh yeah, and there is something to what you just said. There's like, working with people to further your collection goals and working with stores. Like, I've worked with a bunch of stores in the past and like said, hey, I'll buy a bunch of Majestics from you, 25 cents each for bulk of like 600 or 800 copies of whatever you have, and it's just a great deal because I'd rather do a FNF deal like you're saying. I get like a huge amount of cards that at a reduced price. You don't have to pay. They don't have to pay TCG player fees, and you usually get like a discount because you're buying in bulk, and you're providing a good amount of liquidity to stores. Also to people, like it's nice to just make like little deals like that. So yeah, I got to do that more in 2024. Just like talk to people and say, hey, like what are you interested in, and do a little bit more trades. I don't do too many trades in
Man, we
my
got to get you out to some
stuff.
events, man.
I do. I need to get to some. I heard Worlds is going to be in the U.S. this year, right?
I heard through a well-connected friend that World will be in the United States. I've
I'm
on
I'm
very good authority.
I really want to go this year. That'd be great. And honestly, when you were talking about earlier, I just chat the whole time. I don't know about you. It's fun to just go around, talk to people, and yeah, just hang out.
Dude, all I did at Hartford was the Ravenous Rabble events.
Just to get the Ravenous Rabble cards.
Yeah.
Nice. How much did they sell for? Was it like a good like flip or something?
I held them. They're selling for like 85 right now.
Oh wow,
I think they're gonna go higher. I wouldn't sell them
really?
for. Well, you think about the artwork, you think about the card. The artwork has got Runeblade thematics to it, and I think that if it's going to be playable in a future Runeblade deck, you'll want that card. But right now, Runeblades are not the thing you want to play, so I'm holding it, until Runeblades become good until I get the price that I want. So
That's fair.
I'm just gonna be holding them, chilling with them, and eventually they'll go up in value because there weren't a ton of them given out. I think there were more events in Queenstown than there were in Hartford and Liverpool. So
Mm-hmm.
I think like half were given out in Queenstown and then like 25. So I think Queenstown had like 5 or 6 events for the promos. And then, Hartford only had 3. And then Liverpool, I think, only had 3 or 4.
It always makes me wonder though, like with that Merlion promo, that it seemed pretty scarce, but then I think that they started putting out more for other events. So I
Oh,
wonder if we're
yeah.
going to see with that with the Ravenous Rabble promo, but possibly not. I feel like LSS does that where they sometimes print a shorter amount for one group and then but larger for another type of promo. The promo print runs are really insane. We don't really know any of them, do we?
No, we really don't. I mean, you can kind of estimate on what the print runs are. I estimate like most of the print runs for like the Merlion, the and then the future EPOT and Pro Tour LA are probably going to be around like the couple thousand range, maybe a little bit higher than that.
Yeah.
There's probably a good number of them moving out 2, 3, 4,000 somewhere in that range. That'd be kind of my guess. But you don't really know. I think Pro Tour LA. There's going to be a total of 6 events that are giving away the EPOT.
Hmm. The
So
EPOT artwork looked pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. So I'll be shamelessly going and doing that. It'll be pretty funny because like the first 3 EPOD events are at like 9, 10, 11 on the first day. So I'm literally
Oh
gonna
my gosh.
go enter drop, and then go enter and then play like the third one, whatever it is. I don't even know what the third event is. I think it's like Blitz or some shit. So I'll play like some Blitz deck, maybe hopefully get a couple tickets, and then
Do you just
play the
have
last.
to enter the event and play one game and then you get the promo?
So like the first one, or was it the second one? No, it was the second one where I'm like, the event was supposed to be at 5 o'clock, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fired a little bit late. So by the time we did our steal, picked our cards, it was like 6 o'clock. I'm like, dude, I'm hungry. I want to get dinner. So I really just said, okay, I'm gonna drop. So I played through the first game, and by that time it was like 6:30, and I just dropped because I just went to get dinner.
Oh yeah. Reminds me of back in the day they had Cold Foil Heroes Armory promos that you could do online. So you'd have like 120 people sign up for these armory events, and you just had to play 2 games. So people just play 2 games and then just drop. And it was like a raffle for and I got like a cold foil azalea. I think I entered in like 5 online armories, but it was funny just like the amount. And I can't imagine the LGS is making a ton of money because I think I saw 120 people sign up for an event and each person was paying I think $10 each. So that's $1,200 for an online event.
Hey, that's
Did you?
that's kind of bad.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It'd be cool to see that again with Talishar. But I know the whole point of Flesh of Blood is getting people in the stores in person. But yeah, it's pretty wild times back in the day. But Paul, I've taken a lot of your time. It's a lot of fun talking to you. Is there anything you wanted to chat at, like a topic or plug or what or anything like that at the end?
I think we've kind of covered everything, man. We covered all the indies. We covered Flesh and
Yeah.
Blood at extent. We covered heavy hitters. We covered kind of collecting goals, and we kind of covered kind of the shift from heavy hitters. So I think we're good, man. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff in this like 2 hours and 40 minutes or
Yeah,
whatever.
40 minutes. It's been pretty long. And I appreciate your time, dude. And it's cool, talking to you over Discord because, we've been chatting through Discord for a long ass time. So it's cool to finally, like, have a convo with you
Yeah, no,
and talk it
no.
all out. Yeah. But
Likewise,
cool.
man.
Thanks so
Been
much
good.
again. Have
Right
a good
on.
one.